What's up, everyone? It's 6:03. We're on time. I just saw my clock click over to 6:04, but it was 6:03 when I went live.
We
So
did it.
that means it's time for No Ifs and or Buts, our Andor after show, our final Andor after show.
Sorry, every time we go live, I don't know why, but I have the YouTube screen pulled up over here and the audio still comes out of my speakers. So it scares me every time because I just hear you talking, but like a couple seconds late.
You just got to mute that.
It won't let you mute it until it goes live.
How many? I'll show you later.
Help.
How you doing, Molly?
I'm good.
We'll pretend I haven't seen you all day, every day, forever.
We'll pretend that we haven't been talking about Andor for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Even when, like, I mean, we were talking about it or writing about it, it's nonstop. And even some nights, Molly's like, I need to take a break from talking about this show. And then, like, we'll watch an episode of something. And then she's just right back into it.
I'm right back into it. We were talking about it in the middle of watching King of the Hill last night.
And you were just like, and then another thing about Andor.
And another thing. Yeah.
Well, tonight we are talking about the final 3 episodes, the last arc, the series finale. And we're not alone. We got another guest for the first half of the season. It was crazy and we had no guests. But the second half, we pulled it together. And we're really happy to have MaceAhWindu back to break down Andor with us. How you doing?
Hi, Alex. Hi, Molly. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. The only other time I think I was on you guys' show was like a long time ago for like season 1 of Bad Batch or something like that. And that was a lot of fun. So I'm happy to be back and glad you guys would have me.
Well, we've been enjoying your coverage of Andor on TikTok and on YouTube. So we were like, all right, let's get someone we know is watching the show. Obviously, like any Star Wars fan is watching the show, but
oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So how has the season been treating you? I'll pretend I don't know, but how have you liked it?
Yeah, no, believe it or not, guys, I was very critical of Andor. No, it's like the greatest. Like I have been on record for several times the past since 2022. I have absolutely adored this franchise. I thought it was just recency bias when it first aired in 2022, and I was like, is it just different? And that's why I think it's the best thing ever. And then the more episodes dropped, and then like, you know, you go back and watch the series, you're like, oh wow, this is like different. I'm not used to this kind of show, and it's in the best way possible. It's truly a one-of-a-kind TV series and a one-of-a-kind Star Wars project. So I love it. And season 2 was just as good, if not better. I enjoyed it immensely.
It's funny. I haven't done this yet, but you just made me think I should go back to when we saw the first 3 episodes. I remember my initial reaction was like, huh, interesting. Like it's different. It's not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And then from that first 3 episodes, just the way that it built up and cascaded and snowballed, and we got the prison arc. And I'd like, from that point forward, I was like, this is just on another level.
Yeah, I think we were thrown at first of the kind of like the way the episodes were split up, because like they showed us the first 3 and we were like, wow, these are like ending and beginning in kind of like odd places. So we were so thrown by that. We weren't even ready for like how good the show was going to get after that.
Yeah.
How did you feel about? Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, it was weird because like, you know, it started off kind of slow, but not in like this is boring way. It was just like, okay, they're building up. There's a lot of moving parts here, and I'm interested to see if they come together. And by the time you get to episode 3, which is why I'm to this day so glad they dropped all 3 at once, because I was like, if they dropped this one at a time, it might have dipped off by the time they got to 3. But like when they release them all at once, you get to 3 and you all of a sudden everything clicks and you're like, oh my God, like that. Oh my God, this is going to be great. And I was shocked. I was like, wow.
How did you feel about them doing 3 episodes at a time for season 2?
You know, I'll be transparent. The content creator in me was mad because it's like, look, man, we got videos and we got videos we've got to do. We got to do analysis. We got to do like deep dives into. Sorry, that's my dog. We got to do deep dives into what was he thinking when he blinked that one time, and what was he thinking when was this Darth Maul? Is that Cassian Andor's grandfather? Like stuff like that. But I like Tony Gilroy's explanation. I think he said like, oh, like think of it as a movie a week. And honestly, each arc did feel like its own separate kind of like special project on that. So when I went into that, I mean, and obviously the excited Star Wars fan in me, I want all of it at once. So it's like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with you releasing 3 at a time. So like there's different points of view. I understand why people were kind of sad that there wasn't like a weekly thing, and I would have loved for Andor to dominate for 12 weeks. That would have been fantastic, and it would have made the finale probably even more amped up and hype. But I think what they did was still pretty solid, and they rationalized it pretty well.
That was kind of my feeling, is that I more just wanted to be able to savor it for 12 more weeks, knowing it was the end. But now that we did get 3 episodes at a time, it does not feel like it has only been 4 weeks. Like so much has happened. There's been so much going on in all these episodes that it still kind of felt like 12 weeks. I still felt like I got to savor it.
There's definitely a part of anyone who is like a full-time reviewer, content creator, whatever, that we were like, yeah, we've got 12 weeks of work. And that got cut down to 4 weeks. And we're like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I do remember, being annoyed at just like, now I have to think of 8 more like video topics, 8 weeks worth of stuff.
Now it's reduced to, okay, recap 1 through 3 and then recap 4 through 6, and it's like you wait for later for all like the deep dive, and you're like, well, the algorithm's not gonna want it anymore by this. So it's a struggle.
I've still got plenty of like Andor ideas, so that's good. I think it still got me like 12 weeks of, okay, here's some fun stuff to keep talking about. Algorithm be damned.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
that's the key to good content creating anyway. You're like, I'm just going to do this because it's fun, and I enjoy it. And you'll have a niche group of people that want to see it. I mean, they'll be there for you no matter what. You don't need to get 1 million views of video every single time, right? But it'd be nice, but
it's a delicate balance. You make stuff you want to make, and then every once in a while you throw the algorithm a bone.
Sure. Yeah.
It was kind of funny to like be breaking down like these very intense political themes and like, let's really dig into what Andor is about. And the next day I would put out like, here's all the Easter eggs I found. Very different kinds of content.
Or like we have a bunch of shorts just scheduled to come out one a day. And a lot of those would just be like completely out of left field. Like those were always fun though.
Well, let's dive into the actual episodes and start with episode 10, especially because that wraps up one major character storyline, also just very, very standalone, but a fantastic episode. So, Molly, I'll start with you. How did you enjoy Clea's one-woman army as she goes to take out Luthen?
Oh, man. This episode was so surprising to me. It was like not what I was really expecting, but it killed. It was like really, really fun to watch. I remember the feeling I got when Luthen answers the door at the shop and it's Dedra, and I was like, oh my God, like here we go. And then her bit about the Star Path unit was just, she had such a smug look on her face, and she was like so satisfied with herself, which is always fun to see Denise Goff like get to play a moment like that. So like all the stuff leading up to all of Clea's stuff was really, really fun. And then Luthen stabbing himself. It's funny, and it shows how Dedra was just like so pleased with herself and how she just like wasn't paying attention. The fact that Luthen's holding a knife the whole time, like, yeah, he's gonna stab himself. So I kind of saw that coming, but then her going through the hospital to like, we were kind of like, oh, is she gonna try to get him and take him out or what? But then realizing she's there to kill him is like, it was pretty sad. I did not expect to be so moved and so sad with all of Luthen's character end.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, we figured was going to happen. It's like, we've never heard of this person before, this like figure of the rebellion. So he's either dead or he's faded away or something. But yeah, the fact that he did sacrifice himself, as he like sacrificed so many people over the course of this series, I thought that was good. And yeah, I love that scene. Mace, what did you think of that scene between Dedra and Luthen?
Oh, I jokingly said, like, yeah, like Dedra really thought the Javert speech was gonna work on him. Like he's a master. I know the obvious explanation is that she was completely like she was obsessed with the idea of catching him, elevating herself, and like all the years and years of her searching for. Yes, Cody. Hi. Yes. Years and years of searching for him and anybody connected to him, and by virtue the rest of the rebellion. So when she finally gets to that moment, she's like, he's just gonna sit here and listen to me monologue because he's surrounded. He's not gonna escape. What's he gonna do? And Luthen's like, why do you think I'm still here? I have no intention of getting taken alive. Are you kidding me? And then seeing her panic was like, I bet a final act of satisfaction from Luthen, like, oh, I bet you feel so stupid right now. But that was great. Clea, I was really worried for her. I was worried that she was kind of like, the sequence was really awesome, but when they kept like incorporating the flashbacks with Luthen and his backstory and him meeting, I was like, is she gonna like, and I was worried. I was like, is she gonna like die with him or something like that? Is she gonna like, because like she kept showing the detonator. And I was like, is there going to be some sort of like fiery blaze of glory as she's sitting next to his dying body? And as the ISB close in on her, she's like, beep, beep. And it's like, oh, wow. Like that's so when they went out the way they did, I was like, okay, like still appropriate for what we were building up to. But I felt really terrible for her. The hell she went through. She has been an OG, like from a young age, like when she was like, when are we going to like scrap with these guys now? When are we gonna be able to like fight them? And she was like, what, 8? She's like, yeah, when are we gonna like, so Luthen and her like tagged. I would have loved a full season of just them doing their shenanigans and stuff. I had an absolute blast. Very sad episode ending. But like Alex, I kind of figured that's how Luthen was gonna go out. Like he's gonna probably destroy all the evidence, cut any ties he had with Yavin, and then send one more message about what the Empire is building. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to go back to my shop that I've been at for 15 years and going to go out on my own terms. So yeah, it was fantastic.
I was not expecting him to do that to himself. And I think that was a pleasant surprise. That might not be the right words, but just like after watching how many people he had sacrificed and everything that he claims to have sacrificed, it's like that wasn't just words. That yeah, he will sacrifice his life for the cause, which I think is part of why Dedra was so shocked. Is like I just don't think she can fathom that someone believes so hard that they're willing to do that.
Yeah,
that's great. That's a great. Oh, go ahead, Molly. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, knowing everything we know that Dedra's done, just knowing that she can't get the satisfaction was great to see.
It was a genuine. Like Alex said, it was a genuine, like different wavelength. Like she did not like it's what like we say, are you stupid? Why would you go in there and do that? Why would you throw it in his face when he's surrounded by all these really ancient weapons and stuff like that? You have no idea if he rigged the place to blow. You have no idea, whatever. Like you clearly know that he knows you're onto him. So it's like, why did you think, so, but to her, she doesn't even think about that, because not just because she's so obsessed with catching him, but because her ideology is so different from it. It's like, okay, you're breaking the law. I have to catch you now. And when I catch you, you will sit there and hold out your hands and let me cuff you. It's like she's aiming a stunner at him, and she sees him destroying evidence, and it doesn't cross her mind that he has no intention of being taken alive. It's like fascinating to me. She's like, I'll stun you. And Luthen's like going ham on his stomach. It's like, geez, I get it.
Love that they are like, in a weird way, they are on the same wavelength, because Dedra's talking about how like, oh, you just want freedom for yourself and you're like creating chaos for everyone. but like that's what she's doing for the ISB. Like
Mhm.
she just wants the freedom to take whatever information she wants and to act however she wants to, and she keeps on pushing
Yeah.
the boundaries. It's
But
like,
she expects him to follow the
yeah,
rules that
but it's like,
she's
girl,
setting up.
you want freedom and you
Yep.
don't understand it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're creating chaos, and then it finally gets her arrested.
Yep.
There was a moment. There was a moment of dialogue in that scene that just like really struck me when they were just talking. And I think it's Luthen says something like, "There's only two pieces in the gallery of questionable origin," and I'm like, "Yeah, him and Clea." I thought that was such a smart line.
Yeah, he's like, any guesses? It's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, man.
Me and my assistant, maybe.
I do love that we got flashbacks for them, and like you said, Mace, you could have taken a whole season. I wonder if we would have gotten like a full arc of that if the show had been 5 seasons or anything.
I don't want to get too sad thinking about what we might have gotten if we had got. I think it would have been a full-on rebellion show in every way. We might have gotten like Saw Gerrera, Forrest Whitaker getting like the top billing at one point. Like season 3, Saw Gerrera is the journey to how he loses his leg and how he finally drifts further into insanity and stuff. But you know, I will say that how they went into season 2 with that new understanding of season 2 is going to be the last one, and it's going to be a year in arc. Cody, come on, man. I think that's the best way possible to do it under the circumstances. You know, you kind of give an arc, you go a year later. How has that changed people? What's another arc to focus on? And you kind of string it all together anyway. It's not like it's an anthology, you know, it's not like it's an anthology of adventures. They all are still deeply affected. You lose Brasso in the first arc, and then you lose, who does he lose in the second arc? He loses so many people.
Yeah.
Cinta's another big one, and then the third arc is the Gorman massacre, and then you get to the final arc and it's Luthen. So yeah, 1 second, guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic how they managed to string it all together despite season 2 having a ton of different time jumps and stuff. So
yeah, just like all the stuff that they had to get through to bring them up against Rogue One. Like they had a lot of ground to cover, and you know, if they had to do it in one season in 3 and 4 arcs, 12 episodes, I think they did it as well as they probably could in such a short amount of time.
I was very impressed that like we knew that the Gorman massacre and the build up to it was going to be a big thing, but the fact that they tied that into the Death Star mystery, I was like, that's so smart. Like,
yeah,
it is still something that it stands alone on its own, but it is still part of building to what the Death Star is and the rebellion finding out about it. Like it's another piece of the puzzle that like Cassian and Luthen get to place in there, and then like Jedha and the Kyber crystals and Saw, like that's another piece of the puzzle. So I thought that worked great.
And then they the way they kind of made it 2 different Gorman massacres basically kind of just further affirmed like the persecution that the Gormans had been going through really since the end of the Clone Wars. Like Feng Zar from the deleted scene that we see in Revenge of the Sith, he was a representative of, I think, the CERN sector, which Gorman was a part of. So like from the earliest days, like the Emperor has had his kind of crosshairs on Gorman in some form or fashion. Like first the representative gets arrested for treason. We still don't know in canon what ends up happening to him. And then we get the Tarkin massacre, where Tarkin just drops a cruiser on top, which is originally, I think, a legend story that they kind of adapted and then moved, I think, a bit earlier. So how did they do it? Did they move the Gorman massacre up or back?
I think it was still around the same time. It was shortly after the end of Revenge of the Sith. I think it was in Legends. It was like it was still 19 BBY in Revenge of the Sith, but I think it was still around there. And yeah, but I was not expecting them to bring Gorman, like the original Gorman massacre, into this thing.
When
So yeah,
Carlo
then-
brings up, he was like, yeah, like he was like, ever since like the Tarkin massacre, I was like, oh, that
Oh.
happened too? Like, oh
Yeah,
my
like,
God,
two-
that's terrible.
And,
Oh my
and then
goodness.
like the audacity for the Empire to be like, aren't the Gormans just like so proud, and aren't they just always
Mhm.
pushing back against Imperial norms? It's like, yeah, because you keep freaking
Like-
killing them.
like that
You're
never
dropping
happened.
spaceships on them, bro. Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean?
And then that gave us such a great moment of the bellhop character.
Mm.
The fact that despite being there and like seeing that tragedy happen with the Tarkin massacre, he stayed working in that same place where he had to see the memorial every single day because he knew like I can help in some way. Like there's still hope. There's still a way for me to help. And then him having the rebellions are built on hope line, just like ugh,
That was
That
great.
dude's my glove
So
show
well
for the
done.
season. I
Yeah.
love that guy.
He's fantastic. I love it. I felt terrible for him because like the guy had such a traumatic thing happen to him early in his life, losing his father in the process, and then he kind of has to go through it again in the same area too. Like it's like
Mhm.
another outburst of like violence and stuff like that. He did manage to have like a few heroic moments there though, like him keeping people away from the windows. He's doing everything he can. They're in such a devastating moment. There are acts of heroism in there that you kind of get inspired by, and that's why I look at Gorman. And I think a lot of the rebellion's ranks are probably filled out with either people who are connected to Gorman in some way, or Gormans themselves, like Gore themselves. I mean, I think they mentioned early on a couple of years ago that one of Saw Gerrera's partisans was a Gore, and so like stuff like that. I love how they bring up and harp on the fact that Gorman isn't some outer rim backwater world where there's no influence.
Yeah.
Like this is like if you invaded Colorado or France,
Right.
in terms of countries. Like if you invaded France
Mhm.
and started persecuting them and treating them like that, it's like you're gonna have to spin that really well if you plan on getting away with something like that. So
I wanted to bring up I believe his name is Thela. We've been talking about him so much, the bellhop.
Yeah.
Also, Delarka just said little acts add up, and
Mhm.
I don't know what it is. Sometimes Star Wars just does this, I think, on accident. But between Andor and then the book Into the Light, and I just finished A Valiant Vow, all three of these stories are kind of exploring that theme of it's about the small things that add up to the big thing of destroying the Death Star. But Andor is about, all these small moments that shaped Cassian to be who he needed to be in Rogue One, to become that messenger. And I love that Star Wars just happens to be exploring that a lot right now.
Yeah. And having the bellhop character specifically interacting with Cassian, that allows us to think like, oh, maybe that's where Cassian heard it from, or maybe that's what affected him this way or that way. And like having it be Cassian who he talks to and like tells that story to, all those little things add up and go towards getting Cassian to where he needs to be in Rogue One.
Well, let's dive into episode 11. So we got Clea is back in the safe house. She is trying to contact people to help, and that's where Cassian comes back into the story after sitting all of episode 10 out. But he's hanging out with K2 and Melshi now. How did their relationship work for you, Mace?
Well, I like how Clea is kind of in that moment, not just stepping up in the absence of somebody like Luthen, because she's his assistant, at least in terms of the front that they put up. She's also kind of like proving that she's always been like the smarter one of the two. She's kind of like oh my gosh, Cody. She's much better at like snapping sense into people. And so when she's kind of telling him like, no, you don't understand. I need you to lock in and go back to Yavin and tell them what the hell is happening, because if you don't, eventually, I don't know what it is, you're going to regret it. And so I love the urgency there. I love how she's kind of in a way fascinated by Cassian. She's looking at him like when she sees him at the door. And she's like, of course it would be you. Like it's like you know, you talk so much about how, oh, I'm out after this, like the Lone Ranger stuff that he always likes throwing out, like, I'm out after this, I can't do this anymore. And she's like, you know, every time you say that, you come back and you do some main character stuff where you save like an entire city, then you go back to being like a Lone Ranger. Because she's like, you frustrate me. And so I love their dynamic in that. I love how she is so snarky with him, and it seems to get to him too. Like it gets through to him, and I think what's the actress's name?
Elizabeth Dulao.
Yeah,
Dulao. I heard this was like her first major role.
Yeah,
and she kicked absolute ass.
Yeah.
I loved her performance. I thought she was some prominent. I mean, I don't really follow Hollywood like that, so I was like, oh yeah, she's probably in a bunch of like really awesome shows. And I was like, wow, her filmography is like this big. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she did great.
She crushed.
But yeah, I love their dynamic. It's great.
She will be in hopefully some more really good stuff after this.
Hope so.
Molly, you brought up something today or last night, but about that line where she said it would be you.
Oh, because in another episode, Luthen
be right back, guys. I got to put up the dog.
Okay, no worries. In another episode, Luthen is talking to Cassian, and he says something like, "You're always there when I need you." And I think just Clea thinking about, because Clea has been so close and a lot closer than we even expected with Luthen, I think she does have this fascination with Cassian, because Luthen had this fascination with Cassian. And it's cool to see Clea, it from Clea's perspective, because she's a little bit bitter, maybe even a little jealous about it. She's kind of like, I would be you, wouldn't it? Because maybe she didn't want to admit to Luthen that Cassian was special this whole time.
Well, yeah, the whole like Luthen in the third arc kind of playing with the idea of, have we been making our own decisions, or is the Force at work here? And obviously that's something Cassian would probably push back against. But yeah, Cassian just keeps on showing up where he is most needed at that time. And Vel even comments on it, like he should stop saving everyone. That's just what he is driven to do. He's always going to want to try to do that.
Yeah, because and that goes back to, I didn't talk about this from the flashbacks, but there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, this is Kenari. Oh my God, Clea is Cassian's sister. But then I quickly realized that that was not the case. But it got me thinking a lot about the whole who is Cassian's sister thing. And it made me realize that like Cassian could never find his sister, because if he did, he may have stopped. He may have stopped fighting, stopped doing what he was doing throughout all of this. So he was never going to find his sister. But he's got all these different characters that we see throughout Andor and Rogue One that he kind of treats like his sister. He's got to save them. He's got to like get them where they need to be, make them safe. So like that's why he is the way he is.
Yeah, I felt very vindicated that what we put in the review, which was down to like stuff that we discussed, was that yeah, the whole sister subplot was to show like Cassian feels guilt for abandoning his sister, feeling like he abandoned her at least. And so he just wants to keep saving people. And Tony Gilroy in an interview basically said exactly that. And I was like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
What did you think about, since we're talking about it, the whole sister plot? It doesn't come up until episode 12, but whatever.
Yeah, no, people were right. I started off by saying, because like I'll be real, one of the things in season 1 that I don't think I talked about it that much, but I was like, oh, I kind of like, is there a resolution to the sister thing? And I was kind of like waiting for something like that. And so when season 2 finished, I kind of said like, I kind of was hoping for the sister resolution thing, but then people told me like, well, that's kind of like the point. Like he's not going to find her. It's him. Somebody brought up and said like, oh, it's him losing it. That was kind of like the first big loss. Like you leave the planet, and maybe she found a way to, you're never gonna find her again. And so that's kind of the point. Like then you lose Marva, then you lose Brasso and all these people. And so when people explained it to me, I was like, okay, like that makes sense from a narrative standpoint. I think I just wanted Cassian to get some W's. Like, like before you go off to Oblivion in Rogue One, can you like see your sister again? But yeah, no, I totally understand why they did it.
There really is so many things in this show where I have that same feeling. I'm like, please, can they get the win here? But narratively, I understand that it's like more interesting, more poetic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, the person, or my head is thinking like, if these were real people, I want so many different things for them.
It does sound like in that same interview, Tony Gilroy kind of suggested when they were setting up season 1 that there probably was going to be more to that story, but he himself had not figured out where it would lead. And then when they were doing season 2, he said, like, I basically became more interested in, what does that do to someone if he doesn't find his sister? So I think there's a little bit of both. Like, I don't think it was crazy for people at the end of season 1 to be like, but is there more to the sister story? Because it did kind of feel like there could be, and this is Star Wars, and it feels like there's always a little more to learn.
It kicks off his adventure in a lot of ways. I think that's why I was so invested in it, because the literal first time we see him is him going to Morlana and looking for his sister, and there's like he's like asking about, and he has a potential lead. I mean, like there's stuff there. So that's kind of like that being kind of left by the wayside, even if it's not for a narrative reason. I was like, wait, did that ever, oh, I guess not. Okay. Wow. And it happens in real life. I mean, like you'll wonder if something ever happens and then you'll never see a person again. So it's not unprecedented. Just from a narrative standpoint, it was a different way of doing it. But like Tony Gilroy and like other really good writers and filmmakers and stuff like that, they kind of use it in a way that works. It's like, okay, he never finds her, but what if that was the point? And what if we kind of write it that way? And I was like, okay, it worked. It worked if that's how you were trying to go for it. So yeah.
Have you rewatched Rogue One yet?
I have. I did last night.
We watched it just a couple nights ago too.
It enhances the movie for sure. There are little moments, especially early on.
There's
they kind of
specific that I wanted to talk about because Instagram brought it up, but this was what Molly and I were kind of throwing around is that like Jyn becomes kind of a surrogate sister, and especially that scene where like she wants help and Cassian's like, well, I'm not gonna leave her to go to Scarif alone. But then also Baze calls her little sister kind of inexplicably, but he says to her, welcome home. And I'm like, that's the whole, like, you're coming home to yourself.
That's
like,
a nice full circle moment. I have to kind of mediate my Jyn and Cassian stuff because I got lit up on Twitter a couple years ago. So I'm gonna just go, that's really interesting and really well thought out. I will not offer my opinion.
Does that mean you shipped them or you didn't ship them?
So how it went was at the time.
He said he didn't want to talk about
it.
Like,
I'm just curious.
At the time, I was like, I didn't really see a romantic connection there.
Oh, I don't either. I'm fine to. I'll jump on that with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody loves you, man. I'm in it.
They really don't, though. Not everybody.
I remember
they love Molly. They don't love Alex. They love Molly.
I remember the first time watching that movie and they're in the elevator and they're kind of looking into each other's eyes. I was like, please don't kiss. Like, I thought that was just going to happen out of nowhere.
My rationale, because like I remember, because like when I saw the movie like back in 2016, like I remember there were moments there that I was like, are they kind of into each other? Like there were moments that they would kind of look at each other and they would kind of like, and I kind of came to the conclusion, like after people gave their points of view and I dabbed my toe into the shipping wars of whatever, I was like, oh my God, I'm not used to this. Like the great Raylo wars of Tumblr. I'm not a part of that. And I remember saying like, okay, I kind of see it as a maybe in another life kind of thing. Because like they both know at that point that they're going to die.
Right.
Like they're going to get vaporized. So when they're looking at each other, and he's like, your father would have been really proud of you, Jen. And they're hugging and holding hands and hugging and embracing. If you think there's a romantic connection there, I can totally see why. Me personally, I didn't get the vibe. I got like a you're a cute person and you're a really, really awesome person. If we survived this somehow,
Sure.
I'd really love to get to know you more. But it felt like a, hey man, good job. Like to me.
The hug is like, they knew they're gonna die, so it's kind of like, well, you want to have our last human embrace of our lives? Like we got to do something.
They fought like a suicide mission together, and they survived. Cassian saved her, she saved him, and everyone else on their team is gone now. And you know, in their moment of oblivion, they find like a deep satisfaction in their final moments after both of them looking for something to fill that their entire lives, basically. It's still a sweet thing. Like I that's what I wanted. That's what I keep harping on. I'm like, I'm not saying that they're not a thing. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know.
I think they can, if you want to ship them, you can, but it's.
I think they saw like something similar in themselves, especially like having just finished Andor and then rewatching Rogue One. We kept noticing how many times like the word messenger or message was brought up, and it's not just about Cassian. Like all of that, Bodhi refers to him, sees like, I brought the message. Jin becomes the messenger because she heard Galen's hologram. Cassian, obviously, the Force Healer called him that. Chirrut is the one that allows them to. He turns the master switch on so they can send a message to the Rebel fleet. And like thinking about not just Cassian, but all of those characters and how they all have their own rebellion. That's what really got me like emotional. So to me, I'm like, Jin and Cassian are both messengers, and they did what they were meant to do. And so let's hug.
That moment too, when they're on Edu and Cassian hesitates and decides not to shoot Galen. After watching it now, having seen Andor, I keep thinking Cassian's probably thinking about his own father and the way he was killed, or his adopted father, and the way he was killed, like out on the roads of Ferrix. Like
adds to that, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, a moment where he has somebody else's father's life in his hands, and I'm sure Cassian was thinking about like that moment where he died completely unnecessarily, and he had to watch that happen. Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, the movie is enhanced greatly. I enjoyed it a ton, just by itself as a story of how the Death Star plans got into the hands of the right people. But when you go, especially that final walk where he's doing like the Zoolander. I always pointed that out. I was like, bro, he's putting some shoulder into that march, dude. It's awesome. But when he's walking down Yavin 4's takeoff platforms and stuff, and you're getting one last look at all of the characters that kind of, in every way, kind of led to that moment. Dedra is, in hindsight, very much partially responsible for the ultimate destruction of the Empire, which I bet if she's still alive by the time Endor happens, I bet she's kind of like, are you kidding me? Oh my God. But no, it was just a beautiful moment. And how they, the music that's playing as he's walking is the same music that plays in that final scene of episode 3, season 1, where Luthen and Cassian get off of Ferrix. And it does a parallel with him taking off with Luthen and then him at the back of Marva's ship. It's just like it all kind of like connected, and then like Marva looks back at him and smiles, and then Cassian looks on, like it all of that kind of connects back. And now he's taking off with K2SO to go to a location, and the next time we see him is going to be in Rogue One, where he's meeting with Tivik, I think his name is. And so and rest in peace to Tivik. Poor guy, he was probably terrified.
He was another character that I really wished, if we had like a full 12 episodes for this season, I'm like, I wish we got to see a little bit Tivik
Mm-hmm.
and
What if we had gotten like attached to him, knowing that he gets a bolt in the back? Like, oh my god!
My headcanon was that like he and Cassian were going to go on a mission together, and we would see his arm get messed up, and maybe it's Cassian's fault. And so,
was he with the Partisans? Was he with Saw?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was embedded in the Partisans, but he was, I think, a spy for Cassian, and then the Rebel Alliance. Yeah,
I was really curious going into season 2 of Andor, like, how are they going to end this season for Cassian's character, knowing that one of the first things we see him do in Rogue One is kill someone that didn't need to be killed, and he does it in kind of like such a shocking way. Like, I mean, was just...
I think he's emulating Luthen in a lot of ways, where it's like, I think he's taking out his own, like, this dude's a nice guy, and it really, really sucks that this is about to happen to you. I'm so sorry. And just like with Luthen and Lonnie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
bring up. My buddy was talking to me about it, and he was like, I honestly think that Luthen was always going to kill him. I was like, I don't think so. I genuinely don't think so. I think if there was an actual concrete, for sure way to get him off world with his family, I think he would have found a way to make it work. But I think with the news that the Death Star is like a planet killer super weapon, that changes like everything when Luthen's talking to Lonnie, and that's when he's like, and I'm sorry if you guys are going to save this for like a wholly separate segment, but that, I think that's what changes stuff. Lonnie's terrified. He's kind of breaking now. He's like, hey, we need to go now. We need to go now. We need to go now. And so Luthen still kind of needs to get stuff ready. And so Lonnie's on one side pressing down, and Luthen knows if they catch you, and they probably will, they will hold your family over your head, and you will tell them, probably through some coercion, but you will tell them everything that they want to know.
Yeah.
If they could get Cassian's whereabouts and activities out of Bix with all the crazy stuff they did to her, they could get Lonnie to rat out Luthen.
I need to watch that scene again, because there is a moment where Lonnie's talking about, like, I had whatever computer access to like Dedra's files, and like that's kind of the moment where Luthen changes his tone, his whole like body language and attitude. I think that's when Luthen was like, they're going to be able to track that back to Lonnie, which will track back to me somehow. So it's kind of like in that moment, he was like, sorry, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
I immediately like, what did you do? Like, he immediately was like, what have you done? Like, oh my God. And so, yeah, in that moment, he's kind of like, I'm going to make him feel as relaxed as possible. Yeah, we're going to go to Yab. He wouldn't, I told my buddy, I was like, he would not have told him where he was going if he knew he was getting him out of it. He's like, yeah, I'm not telling you. We're going to Yab, and it's going to be cute little bunnies, like a beautiful countryside. Yeah, okay, yeah.
I think that there was a world where he would have gotten Lonnie out, but yeah, once there's too much writing on it, and I think Luthen knew he wasn't going to walk away from it. Like, there just wouldn't have been time, because he goes straight to Clea, then he goes straight to the office, and there's Dedra. Yeah. So how would he have gotten Lonnie out? I think that maybe Luthen probably saw it as like a mercy. They're gonna send you to Narkina 4 or whatever, or someplace worse.
He's an undercover ISB. Let's be real. He would have suffered probably one of the worst. He was undercover like SS, basically. Like that's like Hitler finding out that like an SS Gestapo guy is like feeding information to the Allies. It's like, oh, it's over, dude. Once they catch you.
Yeah.
So shot to
I
the
hope
heart.
I hope you got a way out. Yeah, so
it still sucked. I was still mad about it, but
but like, now we know that without Lonnie and his sacrifice, like the whole idea of getting the idea of these plans existing and the Death Star existing started with that conversation, and kind of just went from there.
And I think Luthen meant it when he told him, like, dude, like, you are my most valuable, maybe next to Mon Mothma, who I plan on helping elevate as like a future leader in the rebellion, but like, you are my most valuable asset, which is why up to that point he was like, I'm going to do everything I can to keep you around, like, because he wouldn't have used Lonnie the way he did if he was worried at all times of him breaking and giving up all the info. It's like, yeah, you have an undercover ISB specialist who regularly bumps elbows with some of the most like secretive people in the entire galaxy, like secret police guys ever. He's in the same room with Colonel Yularen, who is only a couple rungs below Darth Vader. And so there's tons of valuable information there. And so of course he would do everything he can within reason. But yeah, no, once Lonnie's like, they wouldn't have let me leave the building if they knew what I had here. And like you said, Molly, Luthen's kind of even looking at him differently, like, what the did you just do? Like, what are you? Am I getting pinched here? Like, are you kidding me? Am I about to get raided? I will say that moment where Dedra meets him, when Luthen looks up after he's like destroying the radio set that he has to kind of get all the stuff done. When he looks up, it almost looks like he's surprised that she's there. So I wonder, like, what he was planning to do in that. Do you guys have any?
Sure, he was like doing everything he could to get out. Like he had a rendezvous.
He was going to
with
leave
Leia,
right after that, probably.
and he was like, "I'll meet you there," but he didn't want to risk Leia. I think he knew that there was a high chance, but yeah, she probably got there faster than he even thought.
And Clea looked at him as if, like, she's gonna be. There's like an 80% chance that she's probably waiting for you to get back there now. So it's like, no. When he looks up, because my buddy was like, he was like, was he always playing? I was like, no. Like when he looks up after he's in the middle of literally destroying evidence, and he sees somebody at the door, he knows exactly who it is. Like, oh my god! And he still goes through the whole like, on the somehow off chance she's not here to arrest me. Hello, welcome to Luthen Rails.
So
how are you? It's like, man.
I think Clea even, correct me if I'm wrong, Clea was wanting to be the one to destroy the radio thing, and Luthen stopped her and was like, no, I'll do it.
Yep.
So
I think he subconsciously knew, like, they're either on their way there now, or, I mean, Lonnie basically tipped him off that way. Yeah. Where he was like, they're doing a big operation. Assume they're coming after you right now. Like, if not tomorrow, like within the next 24 hours, they're about to nail you. And so, at that point, Luthen does kind of go into like crisis management mode, where he's like, okay, Clea, you go over there. I'll be right behind you. Wink, wink. And it's like, okay, I'm probably not going to be right behind you. And once she was there, and once she started like saying like, yeah, you're surrounded, by the way, and Luthen's like, well, okay, well, it's been real, guys. Like,
good thing I have my favorite knife.
Like, bleeder.
Yeah. they kept focusing on the knife, and I'm like, oh, he's either coming after her or he's gonna use it on himself. Like, okay, yeah.
He even gave it to her and let her hold the knife. Like, so crazy.
I know she was losing her mind. Like, I can't believe. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to make sure we talked about K2SO. Because we had to wait all the way until the final arc to get him back, but loved their chemistry together. Loved his hallway scene.
So
Molly,
fun.
what did you think of K?
I mean, I loved K2 and Rogue One, and getting any of K2 and Andor felt like a gift to all of us. I do wish we could have seen a little bit more of them like getting to know each other. Like, I think that scene of them playing like that dominoes game, I forget, Rinsler or something like that it's called.
Yeah, they did make up a name for it.
Is it like their version of Liar's Dice?
I'm not sure. They said they made up rules for it.
5 5s, like 2 2s. Like, oh, okay, it's like
that kind of sounds right.
That was kind of the scene to set up that they're all friendly and kind of like jokey with each other now, which is great that we got that. But then I felt like watching Rogue One after we finished the finale, I was like, I don't know that they've really known each other for that long. And like when we watched Rogue One in 2016, I just kept thinking like, wow, how long have they been together? And like, just like, I kept thinking about their backstory and all that. So I know that's just one other thing that kind of suffered from how quickly they needed to get from point A to point B. But otherwise, I love.
Yeah, I was getting ready to harp on that. I think it's like a really, really good example of like that arc in particular is probably one of the biggest casualties of them cutting down the final season significantly, because damn well Alan Tudyk would have been top billed for like season 3, 4, and 5 if that was kind of what they were going for. K2SO would have been a massively important part. But I think once they kind of condensed it into basically you get an arc and a half basically with kind of him.
Mm.
An arc with just him, but like then you get the other half where he's like a mindless security droid doing the Gorman massacre. Like, oh my god. But yeah, no, I would have loved to get like 2 arcs with him, or maybe like have it seem like, have it be like, oh, they've been friends this long, that kind of thing. Even if you don't show it, like it would have been cool if from the Gorman massacre to the final act, it's kind of a 2-year time skip or something like that. Some way to kind of get that going.
I just had a thought. Like my thing was I liked the dice game, like the gambling, all of their camaraderie. It came across, but I wanted to see Cassian and K2 become friends. And it would have been really difficult for Cassian to fully trust this droid, especially when he's still like wistfully going, the Emperor was there. He saw me once. And how good is this reprogram working?
Yeah.
I wonder if I hesitate to mess with episode 9 at all because it was incredible. But if they had wound up somehow using K2, like if he weren't just ripped in half, but they had the droid and then they like had to give Cassian a little backup to save Mothma, and it's like, oh, hope this works. That
would have been a great way to make them like forced allies kind of thing. Where it's like he's like, I'm here to help you, and Cassian's like, get away from me. I don't want you here. Like, go away. And then he saves him and Mon or something like that. It's like, okay, you're all right. All right,
I just wanted to see their first mission together. Really,
you wanted that Finn and Poe moment.
I did. I loved the Finn Poe, like them escaping the finalizer, becoming best friends. I'm like, that's my shit.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see something like that for Cassian and K2.
I could also kind of see though Tony Gilroy not super wanting to implement too much comedy into Andor, because it would maybe turn some people off just because of the overall tone of everything else.
Yeah.
So
he also probably figured like Rogue One has enough comedy from K2SO for like 3 seasons, so it's fine. Like every word he said before his final scene where it's like really sad that he dies, like he's like wisecracking or he's telling a joke. Even like the Jedha moment where like literally the Death Star just destroyed the city and he makes like the horizon joke where he's like, there is no horizon. It's like, okay, yeah, he's funny. The probability of us getting out of it, he's like, no, please, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know.
He's kind of, the hallway scene was so much fun to watch, and like him using here as a human shield was kind of shocking, but also worked so well.
It's funny, the first time we watched that, I didn't even realize that was here. Like, I thought that here, I was like, did we not see him die? And I'm like, oh no, I was staring right at it.
He died in the worst way.
He was screaming in agony, like, oh my God! And
Stop shooting me.
From their perspective, that's probably terrifying. I mean, we've seen it from their perspective with the Gormans. Like, we just see like the good version of that now, where it's like a bunch of ISB agents, like, what is it? Like, oh my gosh. And he's just kind of casually walking toward them, picking them up, throwing them off like ledges and stuff. It's like, what in the world?
Man, imagine.
He's like, are you with us? He's like, no.
Level 3000 of Coruscant. You fall for so long.
What a way to go, man.
Yeah. And then like seeing him K2 in Rogue One, his last scene, it's kind of like he's shielding them, not necessarily like a human shield, but like he's standing there and holding the door for them to like get out of there. So,
and of course he repeats the climb thing.
Climb.
And Kino both shouted out. I was kind of hoping, maybe we did and I missed it, but I was hoping for one more climb in season 2.
That would have been good. Yeah. Do it like on Gorman or something, or do it him saying it to Mon Mothma or something on their escape.
They have to get up a ladder to go kill Cloris.
Yeah. Somebody actually, I forgot, it was somebody on Twitter, they said something really funny. They were like, yeah, you look at like all the bad stuff the ISB does, and we always knew they were on the bad side. They're the Empire, and they're like the Empire's secret police, basically. They were like, yeah, but it really makes you like, damn, what did Callus say to get them to trust?
Like, right, yeah.
They had been dealing with these like the Dedra Miros and the Dr. Gorsts of the world, and Callus probably had to give like the speech of a lifetime to be like, guys, I promise I'm not that guy.
He just had to have the sexy hair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Look how sexy he is. He can't be Imperial.
Yeah.
On the flip side,
look, I changed my hair.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think Lonnie had to do to stay in the ISB's good graces? Like, he probably, maybe we'll get a Lonnie book. That
I honestly hope so. Yeah, he really did have like the scariest job like out of everybody. Though you are
Can you
regularly
imagine though, like instead of Thrawn, it just says Lonnie. Star Wars
Lonnie, a Star Wars story. Star Wars Lonnie. That's even better. Star Wars Lonnie. It's like, all right. Perfect.
Well, let's I guess hop to the final moments of the episode, and I just want to talk about like where everyone wound up. I mean, we know where Cassian is headed. I'll start with him though, because God, that nod to the Force healer, like I wasn't expecting to see her again, but that like nod and her look of just, I imagine she's thinking like, oh, it's happening. Like she doesn't know what, but
she feels
like,
it.
He's about to go. Kind of
whatever's
like
about to happen.
Sure, it is like the Force moves darkly around a creature that's about to kill. She's like, the Force is moving around him like a lot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was lit up, like his aura was just like
a Dragon Ball Z character.
Yeah, the power up. Yeah, start hearing the Bruce Faulconer music in the background. You're like, oh, he's getting ready to achieve his final form. Here we go. Yeah, no, I Cassian. When they first announced that they were doing a show called Andor, and I think it's always been called Andor, right? From the beginning, right? Yeah, it's always been called Andor. I remember being from the beginning intrigued by it. Like a lot of people were like, oh, who asked for this? And I think back then Star Wars fans were still, I mean, they still are, but like back then Star Wars fans were kind of like big on like, why are we doing this for a character that nobody knows? And that it's like, yeah, but like they're people. So their story could get expanded in ways that you don't really think about. And Cassian is a captain in the early Rebel Alliance. So it would be really cool to see through his eyes how a lot of that stuff kind of comes together. So when they finally like showed us what they were working on for all those years, ever since it first got announced in like 2018, I remember being like, yep, that's about what I was hoping for. Espionage, grittiness. I mean, that's what a lot of people across for different reasons were looking for in Star Wars. And so you get something like this and people are happy that you don't get lightsabers or okay with the fact that there are no lightsabers or no Darth Vader cameo. And it's a really special thing, and it shows. And so when you look at Cassian as a character, he was already a solid character in Rogue One, but this kind of adds context to his importance in Rogue One, and it makes you look at him a little bit differently and more appreciative of what he does. It's still immensely brave, the thing he did in Rogue One. I mean, he went on a suicide mission on a hunch, basically. Like, yeah, I believe you. We need to go there. But then you see all the work he put into that moment, all the work it took for him to get there. It's a beautiful moment to see it. I mean, I'll tell you, Rogue One, going into that right after the finale, I watched the last 10 minutes of the show, and I went right into Rogue One, and I was like, oh, damn. Yeah, I get why Tony Gilroy was like, you guys need to watch the movie afterwards.
I love, like you talking about the mission. I think about the fact that we know that it works. They blow up the Death Star, huzzah. But I love that. I think it made it more clear watching this show that, you know, they did all that just not to beat the Empire. Like it'll definitely happen on Scarif. They were like, no, we're doing it because we hope someone is up there to get the message. And then we hope they can do something with the plans. And we hope, like, it's just so many levels of hope still to get to blowing up the Death Star. But then they did all that just for hope and not for
you understand why like Luke, Han, and Leia were like deified after the first Death Star, because it was like I mean, we made jokes about this, but like I know the people sitting in that Yavin like headquarters on that final trench run when Luke turned off the targeting computer. I know they were like,
Mm-hmm.
Oh
After
my
all
God,
this.
he did it. Holy shit. It's like, oh my God. I know for a fact, no wonder they gave them medals, like you don't do that for somebody. And so to know deep down, and that's why I was going to say this, at the very end of the Andor finale, the music kind of shifts into the, and I got really, not gonna lie, I got kind of emotional because it's like a reminder after all this heavy, albeit great, well acted, well written, important dialogue and important story beats. You get all that heaviness, and then you get reminded at the very end, this is still the franchise that you knew and loved as a kid. It's a different take on it, and it's still giving you important lessons. It's just from a different perspective, a different kind of point of view. And that's ultimately what Star Wars is all about. It's hope. I mean, like the overall theme in Andor is still the overall theme of Star Wars. I mean, like, I don't know why people say that it's so different from, I mean, like, derogatorily, why is it so different? Like, I can't get with it. It's like, oh dude, it's the same beats, it's the same stuff, it's the same hoping against hope. You think anybody's out there listening, like appeals to everyone's better nature. It's all there, so it's beautiful.
It's funny that you brought up the medal ceremony. I was just thinking the way they talk about having this big grand entrance for Mon Mothma with like Gold Squadron. I was like, oh yeah, that kind of like hints at why they do a medal ceremony at all, because like they're trying to make Yavin as a base like look more legitimate, and so they were probably like, I don't know, do you want to have a big ceremony with medals? Like, we gotta celebrate this.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, also, since we're on the topic of like, I just want to say real quick, I don't know what that guy's name is on the Alliance High Command. He's like the senator. Oh God!
No,
even his name is like deep sigh. Like,
just go, ugh.
They showed that pan over shot, and I saw his outfit, and I said, "Oh my God, this guy, this guy." Let me guess, this is crazy. I'm a big Mass Effect fan, and a big overall theme and running joke is that Commander Shepard, the character you play, is continuously trying to convince the rest of the Alliance, appropriately named in this case, that the Reapers are coming to invade the galaxy and can kill everybody. And the Council, which is like the effective head of the entire government, are cynical and skeptical the entire freaking time. And there's a moment where they're like, yeah, but like the Reapers are coming, and they still think it's like an urban myth. And so one of the councilmen goes, ah, yes, the Reapers. And it's so blindingly enraging, because it's like your character just fought these guys, and you're going back and going like, guys, I literally saw this. Help. Reapers that you talk about, they don't exist. And it just felt like whenever the two senators are like, this super weapon you keep bringing up, why do you keep we don't have any evidence. It's like, okay, go ahead and have your planet blow up then. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
It's so satisfying when they're kind of arguing, and they're also arguing like the validity of what Cassian's saying about Luthen, and Cassian is like, well, Luthen sent me to save Mon Mothma, and he kind of like looks at Bail like saying in his head, like, because your people were like, you had an ISB agent with your people. Yeah. And like after that moment, Bail is kind of like, yeah, okay.
Bail kind of got on my nerves in that scene. So I was like, hey man, you got way too much story. You got way too much strength of character to be coming up here and being like, I don't know, you're kind of full of it, man. I don't know. Yeah. I was just like, okay. Everybody in that room, with the exception of Mon Mothma, and like, I think Draven and Radis, they're military guys. So they're like, look,
yeah,
you guys are the ones making like the high end, like whatever you choose to do, they're just asking questions. They're like, okay, what's the validity of this? What's that? What do we do next? What do we do here? But who's the other senator? The woman?
Pamela.
She was in Rogue One too, right? Yeah. That was Cassian was getting mad at her. He was like, I don't need you speaking bad on my guy Luthen.
Yeah.
He pisses me off too. But don't say that he didn't contribute anything to what you. the reason you guys are sitting here for a lot of reasons is because of him. And what I love how Draven is telling him, like, hey, chain of command, bro, like don't talk to them like that.
Yeah.
And
Because
Cassian didn't care.
You know, they're thinking like, oh, these senators and their cushy senator jobs at the Senate, and they've been on Coruscant this whole time, just kind of like, you know, going to bougie parties and just kind of like, and we've been here in the dirt and Yavin just like working for this.
And for Cassian to hear them say like, oh, well, we've made sacrifices too. That's true. I mean, like they risk their lives too. They risk their careers, their standing, but it's also kind of maybe unintentionally tone deaf to somebody like Cassian, because it's like, dude, you guys don't want to know the stuff that I've done for you.
Yeah.
You will never want to know the stuff that I and Luthen and to an extent Saw Gerrera have done for you in order so that you guys can continue to sit here and grandstand essentially and act skeptical. It's not a good look. I said this on Twitter. It's not a good look that the only two scenes I have ever seen them in their capacity as Rebel Alliance leaders was basically to go, maybe we should like run away, or maybe the rebellion's over. Like, maybe we should just leave. Like,
they've been
not
there
a
for
great
like
look.
6 months, and they're like, well, we gave it our best shot.
Yeah. And here's the thing to remember. Sorry, I completely hijacked this thing. I'm sorry, but here's the thing to remember. The Emperor doesn't care. This is how the American Revolution kind of happened. The Emperor doesn't care if you were a moderate rebel or like a Saw Gerrera. He doesn't care. If he gets his hands on you, he's going to do the same thing to you as what he's going to do to Saw Gerrera. That's exactly what the rationale was in the American Revolution, where when they all came together before the Declaration of Independence, it was a bunch of delegates. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted reconciliation. Some wanted to kind of go back to being colonies just with more rights and stuff like that. When George III came back and was like, all of y'all are traitors, and they realized that all of them were going to die regardless, they're like, oh, but I was the moderate. Okay. Declaration of Independence, please. Let's get out of here. That's kind of what it reminds me of with them. It's a coalition of people with different views. And a lot of times that can be very helpful. A lot of times you do want mediation, you want kind of moderation in certain instances. But when it comes to like the overall purpose of a rebellion, once you join, you're in. Like, you're in. You can leave tomorrow and you're still in. They'll regard you as in. So very funny.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole, like, to go back to Attack of the Clones, you know, Anakin and Padme have that discussion about, it's a joke at the time, but dictatorship versus democracy. And Anakin's basically making the argument like, oh, wouldn't it be easier if we just had one person to tell everyone what to do? And it's like, yeah, it is easier if someone just steamrolls everything and doesn't care about anyone. Democracy is a lot harder. Caring about people is a lot harder.
Yeah.
But, like, that's the way.
And Padme's like poking holes in his logic, and he's like, she's like, well, people don't always agree. He's like, well, they should be made to. And she's like, her red alarm is going.
And then he's like, it's a joke. It's a joke. You should smile more. And
he goes, well, if it works. And I was like, okay.
We talked about this last night, and I said, I think because it goes back to like Anakin being the chosen one and being treated as such throughout all of his years with the Jedi. I think that probably led to him having an opinion like that, because he was kind of babied his whole life, because he was like the golden boy.
No, not his whole life.
Not his whole life. No.
and grew up a slave. I mean, like that's going to significantly. I mean, like sometimes it's going to significantly. Yeah,
slavery.
He's sitting at the table with Qui-Gon and his mom and Padme and Jar Jar. They're all talking about how like, oh well, the Republic's anti-slavery law, and Shmi's like, we're on Tatooine. They have no standing here. They can do whatever they want out here. It doesn't mean anything. So Anakin's been seeing that his whole life, hearing directly that the Republic can talk a big game, but they don't actually do anything. And there are systemic issues in the Galactic Republic. It had been dying without anybody's knowledge for decades, if not to an extent centuries. And then he gets to a point where he grows up, becomes this powerful Jedi, and he gets groomed by Palpatine. And he's saying, well, you know, somebody smart like Palpatine should take over and dominate everybody. It's like it's from a deeply traumatic upbringing, and he grows up and has it unfortunately developed in a way that kind of made him more sympathetic to those arguments. Yeah.
I think I can do a good segue to go for it. Let's go to another character that had kind of a rough upbringing and talk about Dedra and just the Empire and how they ended up. But how did you feel about Dedra's final 2 shots? Because I loved them.
I loved the theory that she was going to end up on the Death Star. The running joke / theory. They were like, oh yeah, like she gets away with everything. She kills Luthen. Cassian can't get back at her because he's on Yavin permanently now, and he has to kind of just accept it. She gets promoted. Maybe Partagaz is retiring, and she's like the new Major Dedra Meero, and so she's directly under Yularen, so she gets access that she's never had before. And I was going to say the final montage is her getting her new assignment, and she's like, I'm going to be on the Death Star. And they don't even have to confirm. You just know, like, I know you were there on Yavin. I know you were there at the Battle of Yavin, and I know what happens to you. It could just be, you could just leave it alone after that. That's what I thought. So when they went with her entire career after working so hard to uphold the fascist government that is the Galactic Empire, she gets manhandled, belittled through all of that by Krennic, of all people, who, wow. One of the most appropriate ends to a character I have ever seen, because that is her death in a lot of ways. People say like, oh, like if she had like, at least she didn't die. I was like, I think to her that is like dying. She lost her entire career. Like she lost literally everything. She sold her soul. She got rid of any personal connection that unhealthily as it may be, that she had with Cyril or anybody like that. She didn't have any family growing up. That was her life. Like the Galactic Empire. She is probably the more true believer of the Empire itself, maybe even more so than Cyril was, which is why when he's looking at her like, oh my God, like you're okay with like, and so when a high-ranking official is going up to her and telling her like, you're done, like you're done, like you and it might not even all be your fault. And they acknowledge it might not even be your fault. They just go, but you're the one that's going to take the fall. Yeah. That moment where she's sitting on program and she's sobbing, I was like, yeah, no, I couldn't write a better ending for her. Like, I love all the inmates next to her, kind of like what? Cry. What's wrong with her?
I was also very, very satisfied with that kind of end for her, and like her scene with Krennic was so good. I loved how sassy Krennic was in that scene. It was just like so perfect for him. But yeah, it just shows you that like no one in the Empire really cares about you. She kept getting away with little ways of breaking the rules, and she kept doing things, and because what the outcome of the things that she was doing that was kind of against the rules, because those things were helping the Empire, they were letting her do it and letting her get away with it and kind of like commending her for it. But as soon as something that she does doesn't work for them, so like when she goes and they lose Luthen, they're like, you're out of here. Don't care about you.
Partagaz warned her, like in season 1, where she's like riding high after the was it the Krieger thing or something like, it was something like that. It was before the Ferrix thing. I think
it's right after she knocks Blevin down a peg.
Blevin gets humbled, yeah, and I don't know what happened to him in season 2. Maybe he just got off screen like yoinked, like oh well, like bye Blevin. But Partagaz tells her in her moment of like pride, he's like, you're walking a very, very narrow path. Like Partagaz is like an old ISB, probably served in like Republic intelligence. He's been doing this for like 30 years probably. So he knows like, yeah, I've seen ambition before, and they either succeed to their wildest imaginations or they're never heard from again. And the people you've never heard from again, or a lot of them were in your shoes at one point. And so he warns her like subliminally, maybe even unintentionally. Maybe he didn't want to like foresee that, but he's probably like letting her know, like, I've seen so many people come through here and say like, I'm going to be the guy that runs everything. I'm going to be that person. And it's going to I'm going to do it through sheer hard work and determination and blah, 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 and initiative. And
Partagaz is like, okay, well, the moment your initiative gets you in trouble or somebody else in trouble, your superiors will take every and any opportunity to completely throw you under the rug. And that's why I love, and from a narrative standpoint, obviously, I love Krennic's use of his hands when he's belittling her, because it's like a reference and a sign or a representative of the Empire, dominated by a lot of men, a lot of old men, and they take her and discard her. They put fingers on her head and like throw her to the side, and they're like, yeah, we'll take care of it. You don't worry about it anymore. You're out of here now. It's like they throw you away just as easily as she kind of helped Cyril get thrown away or get used and stuff. It's the whole thing. It's like poetry. It rhymes.
I wanted to look up Tony Gilroy's quote in an interview. He said, fascism doesn't just take down the oppressed. It doesn't just come for the people it's trying to control. It inevitably destroys the people who have worked the hardest to build it. And yeah, that's
each other.
I loved everything about like the journey of seeing more of the Empire. I like have in the past few days become kind of obsessed with it, especially watching Rogue One too, because we start with just like a corporate cop. He's the bad guy of season 1 at first, and then we get Dedra above him, then Partagaz above her, and then Krennic comes in to be like the big bad of Andor. And then we go to Rogue One, and he's immediately like kind of like timid and getting pushed around by Tarkin.
And then Vader comes in and like,
at the very end of Rogue One, we get like the actual power behind the Empire. It's the Sith, and even he is under the Emperor. And so like just the levels of, you go all the way down to Cyril, and he's just on his own little power trip, and he's going to oppress whoever he can. He's going to use what little power he has to push down on the people beneath him. And that's how it is all the way up. No one wants to work together. It's all about, how do I use my power to control others?
Yeah. Palpatine designed the Empire after the rule of 2, and everything is to serve him and no one else.
It's all survival of the fittest. And if you can defeat your superior, then you can get his spot. Great.
And I complain about the Imperial ranking system from my fixation standpoint, but that's why he made it. You can easily explain it away like, oh, that's why he made it so confusing. He wants everybody to be like, who do I answer to? Who am I under? Who am I over? Who am I blah, 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 blah. Is he an admiral? Okay, why does he have this? Because it's all about the Emperor's favor. Like Krennic, if he didn't have like the Emperor's favor, nobody would take him seriously. They still really don't. Like a lot of the guys who have to take him seriously, they don't even like him.
Even
Thrawn cooks him up and Thrawn treason. Like it's like, oh god, man. Like,
even Mon Mothma's throwing shade at him at that party where she says like, "Oh, it's nice to see you off the
witness stand." Yeah, because she probably dragged him to like every committee hearing ever, and like,
I still love so much. There's one thing that Rogue One or Andor didn't change about Rogue One is just the fact that the super laser hits Krennic specifically, like it goes straight through him. That's so good. I love his death so much.
I love the way he Tarkin immediately shifts gears. Like they're like, yo, there's an incursion on Scarif, and he's like, get Krennic on the phone. Well, he's there on Scarif.
Let's
take
go to
the Death Star to Scarif.
Great.
Oh god!
I'm ready to test this bad boy again.
Yeah, let's test this out on Scarif. Is he on there right now? Is he on the surface right now? Like, yeah, like wow.
I'm imagining Tarkin like with a scope lined up. There he is. Aim right there. Shoot him in the face.
And he just looks right down the barrel in his last moments. Ugh.
Yeah. God, man. In the novel, I think they kind of give Krennic a point of view chapter before he dies, where it's I think as the laser's charging up, since he's just been told that by Jyn that like there's like a fatal flaw, I think he dies knowing there's like a low-key satisfaction, like, oh, Tarkin's gonna kill me, but
he's
God willing, in 2 days, that's you too. It's like, and sure enough, he's probably waiting for him in hell, like, hey, buddy, what's going on? Like, hey, yeah.
You too, huh?
I think the last thing that we need to talk about is Bix and B2 Emo. Thank God we saw B2 Emo again.
B2.
I love B2.
I do too. But Molly, I'll open it up to you because I know you have a lot of thoughts and feelings about.
I'll go last.
Okay, Mace, how did you feel about Bix and baby Cassian?
I was surprised. I was very much surprised. I had a feeling we were gonna get an epilogue-ish kind of scene with her because there's a chance. I mean, like Tony Gilroy probably won't be doing a Star Wars project after this, and Bix was a character that he put a lot of time into. So I think he wanted to bookend her, like being the bookend for Andor. I didn't realize that she was pregnant. I was pretty surprised by that. She's carrying the baby, and I was like, "Oh my god! Okay, all right, cool." There has been a lot of discussion about how people feel about the decision, like the path that Bix took. Personally, I thought it was a really cool ending for her. She had gone through absolute hell for a season and a half. And I respect women who wake up and go, I'm getting out of here. Like I'm gonna do my own thing. I know she's kind of still actively helping out the rebellion and stuff, but like it was nice for her to kind of have that moment of like, I'm going to leave. And the way they explained it, where it's like it's for Cassian too. She's like, I need to get away from you. Not because I'm scared to be like in danger or something like that, but I need you to focus on what I know you're gonna be so good at and what you are so good at, even though you don't really see it that much yourself. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm glad that she wasn't fridged. I didn't want her, because people were theorizing, oh, her death is gonna be the final thing but I was like, God, man, she's gone through so much. I don't want her to go through that again. And that was such a beautiful send off. The message was the cherry on top. I was like, oh man. So when we get that final shot of her kind of looking on, probably around the time Rogue One's happening is when we see her do that. It's just a nice bookend for the entire story, and it's also a sign that Cassian, in a way, lives on, through Bix and through their child. And I thought it was a lovely ending to the character.
I was also surprised. The second we kind of started to pan and you see her walking in the distance, I was like, she's gonna have a baby. Like, I do kind of think that's maybe the most cliche thing that the series ventured into.
They Jason Doolittle us. It's like, Hera was pregnant.
Like, okay, this just to kind of help ease the pain of knowing Cassian's about to die.
Yeah,
but I do ultimately like it. I still have thoughts, and Molly and I have talked about it a lot. But I have thoughts. I do think that it plays nicely into Luthen's whole monologue of trying to create a sunrise I'll never see, and that Cassian has created a sunrise for the next generation. He doesn't even know that he's got a child in that generation, but he did that. And I like ultimately that he will live on in some way.
I think Clay is another good example of that. Like when she's watching, she's waking up from her nap coma-ish thing, the hell she just went through, and she sees everybody. It's not even anything extraordinary. They're just helping each other set up some tables and stuff, and she's just watching everybody. And I bet deep down she's thinking like, Luthen did this. Like Luthen helped build this. Like they might not give him credit. They might discredit him. They might call him a nut. And they might not be wrong about a lot of that stuff, but the impact he left on the rebellion through her, the things he taught her, and the things that he helped happen. Like you see, it almost looks like she's getting ready to cry when she sees it, and that was another beautiful moment. That was the moment that got me before the Bix thing. I was like, that was beautiful. That was a nice bookend to Luthen. Like, and I wonder what Claire's going to be doing. Hi, buddy. I wonder what Claire's going to be doing now that, because I assume she doesn't go to Scarif. I mean, like she's probably more on the intelligence side of things, probably. That'd be cool if they kind of revisited that. They don't have to revisit literally everybody, but like it'd be cool if like we get like a story and like Clea's like a major in like Rebel intelligence or something like that, because she has like dirt on like everything. It's like, that'd be cool. She recruits the Bothan, somebody said. hey. No,
I did really like Clea's end, because she got to she got to see that sunrise that Luthen sacrificed himself for. So that was nice to see. The Bix ending, it surprised me too, and I think that I've seen a lot of people talk very differently of like whether or not they were expecting her to end up pregnant or with a baby, or if it was like a big shock. To me, it was like a big shock, so it kind of threw me for a loop for a second. But you brought up Hera, and that made me think like Hera's situation, it is also kind of a surprise. We see Jason Syndulla there with her, but Hera is a general. She has like a very, very important role within the rebellion, and she's got like a really solid story arc. I feel like Bix, I don't know, I get the feeling that they just weren't sure what to do with her. If they weren't going to kill her, they were like, we got to get her out of here. We have to find a reason for her to leave. And the reason, like, Cassian has to just kind of deal with it. So sometimes it bugs me when like women's stories are just there to supplement the man's story. And I kind of got that with Bix's ending. And the fact that she's there with the baby, it does represent hope for the next generation. And I do think that's really beautiful. I just think like one little scene giving us the idea that that's what she wanted would have been helpful for me. Like I was thinking like if they were in that scene when they're shopping for groceries and like some children run by and she kind of like has a moment and kind of looks over at that would have really helped me get the sense that that's what she wanted. And so
that's a good point.
Yeah. And like
I get what you're saying there. You want more of like a setup. Like you're like, okay, like I don't want to see her go, and then the next time we see her, she has a kid with somebody who's gonna be either already gone or he's going to be gone in about 2 days. Like I understand that completely. It would have been nice to have like little crumbs of like, you don't want to start a family, and like Cassian's like, I'm too busy for that, or something like something like that. And then later on, it's like we don't need like a straight up foreshadowing of like she's pregnant, but like it could be like I wouldn't mind a life like that. Like
I think that would have been great, Mace. Like if they were just talking, it would have been another tragic scene of them discussing their potential future together. And like, thinking about, wouldn't it be great to just settle down and have a kid or two? And they both agree, but like that's
it would have been double whiplash too, because in that moment we would be saying like, oh no, neither of them are going to be able to start a family because they're probably going to be gone by then. And then we'll see the final shot and it's like, oh, like she got that at least, and like that's cool. Like I think I would have liked that too. Yeah,
she did make a lot of statements expressing her desire to settle down, and like when they were staying in that halfway house, like she kept saying like, if we're gonna stay here, we need to like zhuzh it up a little bit, get some plates or something. Like she did hint a lot at wanting to settle down eventually, maybe live a more quiet life with Cassian. So this brings me back to like just because this show has so many real world parallels, because they waited so long to implement like the Force and the idea of like destiny, I had a harder time tying that into Bix in her last scene, because I was kind of like, we didn't know that this is what she had wanted, and yeah, it's more tragic because she thinks Cassian may come back at some point, and Cassian will never know he has a kid. So from a storytelling point of view and for Star Wars storytelling, it makes sense, but there's just like so much other stuff like rattling around in my brain that was kind of like fighting against it, especially when, you know, we've been tying so many arcs of this show to real world politics, and like thinking about the really bizarre campaign right now with the Republican Party wanting to pay women to have babies, and like saying that women without children are worthless, like all of that stuff. It's hard to like not think about, but I've come to terms with it as a storytelling end for Bix, and I think if, you know, obviously if Tony Gilroy or if Adria were to talk about that moment, I'm sure she would say like this is what she wanted, but we'll just never know that because they didn't really have time to let that part of her story breathe. So.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
I think everything you're saying makes complete sense.
I was also like, I'm terrified that they're going to turn this kid into something down the road. And Tony Gilroy said in an interview, like, Disney owns that baby now. And I was like, Tony, no.
Don't say that. I mean, it's true, but like, yeah. But that's
we're going to get like that Star Wars Starfighter movie, which is set after the events of Rise of Skywalker. There's going to be one guy there and they're going to be like, my name is so-and-so Andor. And Molly's just going to go, I can see it, man. I can see it.
Star Wars puts a lot of pressure on a lot of their children characters, and I don't want that for that baby.
Yeah. Well, and he's force sensitive. It's like, okay. Yeah.
But
Jason Sandula trains him. Like,
right. I did see a lot of the discourse online about Bix and the baby, and there's just like a lot of varying levels of it. And I hate to see people fighting about it, but I don't know. It's tough.
Star Wars discourse arguments are not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. And there was like a lot of people that were fighting that I was like, I see their point and I see your point, but like, yeah.
And it's hard to kind of really get into, I mean, like, cause there is a way to have a constructive conversation about it, but like when you do it through Twitter, it's hard to get that, you know, like it's hard to, you know, so it's largely why I kind of stay out of it now. Like, yeah. What do you think about this? I'm glad that you like it. That's great.
It's for the best.
Well, we've been going for half an hour longer than I said that we would keep you, but that's
sorry. I'm a professional yapper.
I was apologizing to you. But
no, that's fine, dude. I'm chilling.
I wanted to bring up from Patrick Foley. Said, Mace, love your content. Love that this show's release came out at this time. It's the most topical the Empire has been, in my opinion. Love how Gilroy showed me the real world in Star Wars.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for watching.
Well, we can let you go now, unless there's anything else that we did not discuss about Andor at all.
I think we pretty much exhausted in a way that I didn't think possible in an hour and a half of talking. No, listen, I genuinely, I appreciate you guys for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I'm glad that we see eye to eye on the show. It's a fantastic show. I think it's going to be the best thing that Star Wars has done for a while now. And I'm hoping that it inspires more. When I say I want more stuff like Andor, I don't mean I want more like gritty down to earth. Like that'd be nice too if it's done well. But like when I mean I want more Andor, I want more clear. It's clearly they took their time. They were given a certain amount of like leeway on certain decisions made. I mean, Tony Gilroy has repeatedly said that Kathleen Kennedy, every idea I went to her with, she was like, yeah, go ahead. We're gonna do this scene. Yeah, go ahead. We're gonna do this scene now. Yeah, that's fine. It's like, how much money do you need? It's like, oh wow, like wow. So I hope Disney and Lucasfilm understand when that this is the kind of standard that Star Wars can be. Because I'll be honest with you, I think that's why the show has stuck out to me so much, because Star Wars, I have not seen Star Wars with this level of refinement before, I guess is the best way to say, like the subtlety, the acting subtlety, the writing subtlety, the casual conversations that feel so natural. I mean, we all love camp. I mean, Star Wars is Camp City, like it's great, but then we get a scene like this, or we get a scene like the chief inspector talking to I almost called him Javert, Cyril about like why the two cops died, and it's just so bang bang bang. I'm like, dude, this is a lot of people say that that's the scene where they realize like, oh wow, they're actually going all out with the writing here. That's actually insane how in-depth that is. And I hope that standard is kind of looked at in the future, whether they do another Rebellion show, or they do a Jedi show, or they do a High Republic show. That's the level of deep, work that I want to see done on it. So yeah.
We said something very similar, that it's like not everything coming out has to be like Andor, like this specific way, but yeah, just the fact that this felt so different because they took their time, they hired a bunch of very talented writers and production designers and composers, like they just really put a lot into this show, and you can tell.
Yeah. I hope that this allows any future shows and movies for Star Wars to like understand that they can go there, they can go darker, they can get into the really gritty stuff, and like all this connectivity that we've seen in Andor, like it can be carried over, and like that stuff is important, and fans really get a lot out of that. So I hope going forward that like they take more chances.
Me too. I'm really hoping. I'm hoping that like the Mandalorian. I'm hoping that the Mandalorian group. And it's also important to kind of like when you go into a movie and you know what it's going to be. It's like, okay, it's going to be Mandalorian and the cash cow baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And they're going to go on adventures, and there's going to be some sweet moments, and there's going to be a lot of fun and action. I'm not going in there expecting an Oscar.
Right.
I'm not. But there are going to be other opportunities to tell those kinds of stories where you can go all out and say, let's make an award-winning screenplay and set it in Star Wars.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want with that. Star Wars is such a huge, absurdly huge sandbox that it's quite frankly astonishing that we didn't get something like Andor sooner, even under Disney or whatever you want to call it, So,
yeah.
Well, thanks so much for chatting with us. I already put links to your Instagram and your YouTube channel and your TikTok down there, but if there's anything else that you want to plug away.
I'm on all the main social media sites. YouTube, I talk a lot about Star Wars. Twitter, I talk about everything under the sun. TikTok, as long as it's here at least. I also talk about Star Wars, and my main goal is to kind of continue analyzing in a galaxy far, far away, and continue interacting and bouncing ideas off of talented people like Alex and Molly, who I have to say grew up watching you guys on YouTube. It's great. It's like a really awesome feeling to come home from work, like me coming home from work and watching like a did you know thing on Star Wars Explained. And I never would have guessed that like 5 years later, it's like, oh yeah, I'm on like a podcast, or I'm drinking beer with Alex. And like it's great. It's great. No, it's awesome. So
singing karaoke.
I know, right? I can't believe you guys saw that. I'm so embarrassed. No, but no, seriously, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
When I was Googling you or looking up your YouTube channel, it says MaceAhWindu, and then the autocomplete says Creed.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's my legacy. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's why I'm doing YouTube on Star Wars. I need to get away from that. No, no, genuinely, Alex, Molly, thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for, I think I speak for everyone watching, being a beacon in the Star Wars community. I think you guys are the gold standard when it comes to not only talking about Star Wars, but creating cultivating a beautiful environment where everybody can talk about their own interests and feel safe and feel happy talking about it without having to worry about button heads or anything like that without reason, So
yeah.
It's great. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks. And you too. We are fans of what you do too. So that's why we invited you on.
That means a ton. Thank you.
I mean, just to plug your TikTok one more time.
Oh God.
Brian Barrett says, "Is this the guy that sang Higher by Creed to that video of ice breaking?"
Oh wow. Yeah, man. What's up, bro? Yeah. Yeah, that's me. I wish I jokingly
right there.
I joke. Yeah, it is. It's a legacy. It's a legacy.
Comes up on my TikTok
every time. Yeah, I wish I could make money off of it, but it's not over a minute long, so I don't get that anyway.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Have a great rest of your night.
You too. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too.
And we're gonna hang around answer some of your questions, but yeah, like sometimes I forget that he's a Star Wars creator and he's a great singer, and then just sometimes on my TikTok feed I'm like, oh, there's Mace singing Creed again.
Yeah, that I forget what event it was for. Was it the Andor premiere?
Where we were all at the Andor premiere, and then we went and did karaoke night at Scum and Villainy.
Karaoke at Scum and Villainy, and he went up there and just like knocked it out of the park, and everybody was like, oh, what? That was awesome. Well, I am going to go take a bathroom break as per usual.
You do that. I'll take a refill of whatever you feel like bringing me, and okay. I'll press on.
All right. BRB.
Starting off with Paul Sally here. Thank you so much for the first super chat of the night. What is your headcanon for what Clea is up to during the OT? May the Force be with you. And Brad Scanlon also said, same question, but with Willman. So we'll do both of them. I assume that they're just, a part of the rebellion. Clea, like Mace mentioned, she seems like she would fit very well in Rebel Intelligence. So I imagine she stayed in there. I think she stayed on Yavin. She was hesitant to go, but I feel like she was starting to warm up and understood she had a place there at this place that she helped build. So I like to think that she stayed. Willman, same. I don't think he went anywhere. I guess that they were all there through the Battle of Yavin, and then they ran off. Maybe they were at Hoth. I don't know. Like, who's to say whether or not they both made it through the rest of the Galactic Civil War? But I think that they were both there. Willman's got that injury, so he might have shifted into less of a soldier, more of a behind the scenes role. He was speaking directly with Draven, so he might have also been part of Rebel Intelligence. I don't know. Dana Maniac says, so I'm going to need a Clea spinoff show, movie, novel, comic, and video game ASAP. Get on it, Disney. Yeah, sitting on that episode 10 after seeing the screeners, especially around friends who kept on saying, like, I really like Clea. I hope she gets some time to shine in season 2. I was like, yep, it's coming. It's coming. But like, I didn't say that, but I was waiting for people to I was waiting for people to see that episode. Also, I like people shipping Sleia. That's awesome. Vleia, Sleia. But yeah, I do really like Vel and Clea's relationship, especially when you jump back to Arc 1, where and even season 1, like, they're kind of button heads, they're not seeing eye to eye. Then at the Mon Mothma wedding, they're really butting heads, and they even thank you, they have that moment where they're kind of flirting, where Clea's like, we're just here to check out the prospects, and then Vel gives her a once over and leaves. But then when we get to the final arc, Clea's wandering around and Vel shows her some kindness and they have a great chat. So I'm all for Sleia. I like that. Oh my God. RSB 2014, thank you so much for 2 insanely generous super chats. I saw come in. They say the same thing, but love your guys' videos. Season 2 was amazing, and I immediately watched Rogue One after the finale. I don't know if anyone asks you this, but other than Andor, what's your favorite TV series set in between the main sagas like Bad Batch, The Mandalorian, etc.? I might right now give the edge to the Bad Batch. That show was really, really good.
Wow, thank you, RSB. Sorry, I missed you reading the question.
Just what's your favorite series set in between the main sagas? So Bad Batch, Mandalorian, Star Wars, Rebels. That's a tough one.
Other than Andor, I guess.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Bad Batch right now.
Yeah, for me, I think Rebels and Bad Batch are really close, in my opinion. And I think Rebels is just barely on top.
I
Bad
do
Batch
love
is a
Rebels.
close second.
And I say this a lot, but like I credit Rebels with really changing who I was as a Star Wars fan, and being way more accepting of animation, because I just didn't get it until then, Star Wars animation. But the Bad Batch, just the stuff that it dealt with, both for its characters, what it put Crosshair through, like it gave a character actual redemption and atonement. Like I loved all of that, and just the clone story was great.
Yeah, I mean, I will argue it into the ground that like the Bad Batch has some content in it that's just as dark as Andor.
Right.
So,
I mean, the episode with Mayday and Crosshair is, and the same goes for Rebels. We say this in our podcast this weekend, and I'm just quoting Joseph Scrimshaw from Force Center, but he's like, people who loved Andor, like, also check out Star Wars animation, because Star Wars Rebels tells a similar story, and yeah, it's presented in bright colors and stuff, but like all the characters are still dealing with genocide, losing their parents. Sabine made a weapon that was used against her own people.
yeah.
Hera has been part of the rebellion since she was young. Like all the characters are still dealing with very heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But Jesus Fernandez, thank you for one super chat that says A.
Yeah.
And another that says, what other time period or subject in the Star Wars world do you think could work in a tone similar to Andor?
Time period or subject? So this was something that I saw someone in an interview asked Tony Gilroy if he would like to see a courtroom drama like in the same tone as Andor, and I would really love to see that. And I kept thinking about the Ahsoka case. What would you call that? Her trial.
Oh, like at the end of the Clone Wars?
Yeah. Like, I mean, they've already done it, so that they wouldn't redo it, but some of the bigger, more serious arcs in the Clone Wars, like that one, would be cool to do like in live action in a similar tone to Andor.
I think I'd go with something in the New Republic. I mean, we're getting a little bit of that with Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew and everything, but I could stand to just see more of the inner workings of the New Republic. And I mean, like, honestly, still keep Senator Ziono as part of it, because he's a great antagonist. But yeah, just I guess that would still just be another Mon Mothma show, huh? So that might be treading some similar ground, but
I guess, but yeah,
maybe we see what happens when she steps down as chancellor, because she does eventually do that, and then that's when things start to really get rocky for the New Republic. So yeah, and HoloNet Marauders, hey, what's up? Says Cold War show would be great. Yeah, that's.
I mean, we could get some similar stuff, similar to what we saw in all of the ISB stuff. We could get something similar with like the creation of the Rule of Two, and like what it was like for the Sith before that rule was put into place.
Lena, so stepping down and turning into a hospital. Yeah, let's get that story.
She morphs into a hospital.
She's like, I'm done, and becomes a giant building.
I do. We got a solid amount of great Mon Mothma stuff in Andor, but like, man, do I want more.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't turn it down. I only say that it would be it might cover some similar territory.
Sure.
But yeah, Genevieve O'Reilly, I'm glad that she's probably coming back in Ahsoka. Like she's still going to be around.
Yeah.
That I hadn't considered that until right now, but that makes me very happy. Carter asks, do you think we could get an Andor type show about the rebellion between A New Hope and Empire, or other points in the timeline? Love you both.
I mean, if they decide to, between New Hope and Empire, I was thinking, show us the Bothans.
I think probably not, just because they have filled that time period with a lot of comics. And I mean, I don't want them to make a habit of retconning comics. Not that they would have to, but like, I guess if it weren't following Luke and Leia and Han, it wouldn't be an issue.
Are there any comic runs in that time period that you would like to see them adapt into a show or live action something?
If we didn't follow specifically Luke, Han, and Leia, I think they could do a show or something like that set in this time period. And there's a battle where a lot of rebel leadership is killed. Like they get their fleet established, and then the Empire comes and traps them, and they're just picking ships off. That would be a pretty harrowing arc.
Yeah. Oh,
they lose a lot of generals.
Someone in chat said Afra too. Like that would be great.
As much as I loved Andor, and as much as I loved the original trilogy era, I think we have spent a lot of time, especially lately, in between episodes 3 and 4. In between 4 and 5 is not that far off. Like, I'm ready to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Let's go like way into the future.
Way into the future, way into the past, either way.
Hi, Gio. Thanks for being a member of the 603rd. I wanted to say that Vix's ending with the child was perfect, and Alex, you saying it's very soap opera, but isn't Star Wars one giant space opera? Much love.
I mean, yeah, but like Andor has shied away from most of that. So then, the baby was a little bit like, for me too.
It was jarring.
I had a lot of confusing feelings where I was like, I was feeling that, but I was also tearing up. I was like, oh, this is a little cliche, as a tear rolls down my face.
Yeah, I had a very weird experience with that, but I appreciate everyone letting me get my feelings out about it and not telling me I'm wrong for feeling that way.
Brian Kimmett, what's up? Says, seeing Dedra in the prison at the end was so satisfying. Great lesson in how fascism will throw you away once you're no longer useful to the system. I'm hoping we eventually find out what happened to her after the Empire fell. If she's alive, I mean, I assume she'll still be in that prison. They're going to need new Death Star parts here pretty soon.
Yeah. It's funny, like, she's probably in that Narkina prison with a bunch of people that she helped put there.
Right.
So as soon as those people find out who she is, if they ever do, it might be hard to find that out. But like, if that were to get out, like, she's done for.
Yeah, I don't expect
she's getting
a lot of
pushed
people
onto that floor at night.
Right. Oh, I don't expect she would walk in and be like, "Hi, my name's Dedra, and I'm from the ISB."
No, that's why I was like, I don't know how that information would get out, but if one of the guards were to recognize her or like know her, they might out her just to spite her.
Yeah.
You know?
Never know.
She's pissed off a lot of people, I bet.
I'm honestly kind of cool to not know what happened to, like, that to me was such a fitting conclusion for her story arc right now that I'm like, if we never hear from her, I'm all right with that. If we find out Elliot Finn says Dedra was on program to the end, yep, that's basically what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And still talking about Dedra, Samuel Rogers says, I'm glad Dedra didn't die. Her imperial fanaticism putting her in a prison of her own making is a fate worse than death. Guess she's getting punished for girl bossing too close to the sun. Yeah, I like that. Molly, you said it earlier too, but she just kept on. She was doing what she's always done. She keeps on pushing at the limits that they put around her. And it was like, yeah, it was very, yeah, do it, Dedra, in season 1. But then once you realized, oh, wait, yeah, she is still a monster working for fascists. I'm glad it eventually came back to bite her.
I did see a lot of people kind of talking through their feelings of like still being sad for Dedra because of, how she grew up in a kinder block, and she's kind of like been in a situation like that her whole life, and now she's at a place like Narkina, which there are definitely tragic elements to her story, but we straight up witnessed like all the terrible things that she did that led to something like the Gorman massacre. So I don't know. In that moment, I was like cheering when we saw her in Narkina.
Yeah, I'm like, lots of people, they grew up in Imperial Kinderblocks and they didn't join the ISB. Like,
oh yeah, and that Krennic line of like, you should have been a rebel spy or something like that. A shame you weren't a rebel spy or something like that, or Mr. Calling. Because I was like, I mean, he's right.
mm-hmm.
She would have been pretty good for the rebellion had she just picked a different side.
That reminds me, let me see if I can find it. Since we're talking about Dedra, I saw this question pop up. Ultima bin Dessen said it seemed unclear why Dedra was arrested and put in jail exactly. So she was digging for Luthen so hard that she kind of inadvertently found out about the Death Star. And she didn't care about that. She was just like, okay, these are in my files now. And then when Lonnie went digging, because he thought that Dedra was closing in, he accidentally found out about the Death Star. And so he's like, well, now I have to go tell Luthen what's going on. So it's basically her fault that the Death Star was leaked. And
so it's like the Death Star, the idea of the Death Star was in her search history. And it wasn't supposed to be. And
Lonnie went to search for Dedra and it was like DEF Star? What?
What's this? And so Lonnie saw her search history and found out about the Death Star. So if it weren't for her digging too deep, Lonnie would never have gotten that information and gotten it out to the rest of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Perfect end for her, honestly.
So great.
I will just say quickly, I think Dedra and Cyril are my standout like favorite characters of this show. It's not even Cassian or Bix. Mon Mothma is way up there, but like the two of them just were they added such depth to those characters.
They were fantastic together and apart. Dave McHugh says season 2 episode 10 is the only Andor episode without Diego Luna. We got our own like Mandalorian Book of Boba Fett style.
Which honestly I really appreciated because like Clea needed that moment. Luthen needed that moment without Cassian.
Just we needed some time to get to know those characters, especially Clea. Like she has been on the periphery, like very much present, especially in season 2. But yeah, she was a mysterious character, and I'm glad they spent a whole episode on her. Hi, Haja. Thanks for being a member of the 603rd. Seeing so many strong women in the show was just epic. I call the show Womandor for these amazing characters and what they achieved. Perfect stuff. Womandor.
See, the man is still in there and I can't get it. I'm not okay with that.
Dave McHugh also says, I was expecting a bloodbath, so I was shocked so many characters lived. Will we see Dedra, Vel, Wilman, Bix, Clea, or Perrin in live action again?
Oh man, it would be hilarious for Perrin to show up in Ahsoka for whatever reason.
He's just gonna they'll be in the middle of a courtroom scene or whatever, and he's gonna crash through the doors just hammered, and he's like, "Man, take me back. I'm sorry." That's how I see Perrin coming back.
I think it was great that they showed us that last scene with him, but like you've been saying, I would have loved to have seen Perrin and Lita's reaction to what happened at the Senate.
Yeah, that's something I would have enjoyed seeing.
I'm almost like, go ahead.
And I'm also surprised that Lita didn't get a wrap-up scene the way Perrin did.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad she didn't though. Like Lita was such a snot-nosed little brat to Mon. I was kind of like, as soon as she went through with the wedding and told Mon that, you know, she'd rather her be drunk, I was like, goodbye. You chose this life. Goodbye. Hopefully you realize your mistake one day and fix it.
I'm not expecting for all those characters though. In live action, I'm not expecting it. In a book or a comic, yeah, that's more likely.
Yeah.
Danamaniac says, I definitely took that as Luthen talking about him and Dedra. Clea, I don't know what we were talking about at 6:21. So I'm sorry.
Him and Dedra. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, I think it was your bit about there being only 2 items of questionable origins.
Oh, yeah.
Because Clea wasn't there. Yeah.
That could be true too.
Crassus says, surprising the Hallcraft didn't have any defenses against tampering, especially with the droid mon in it. No, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that moment. I'm also bummed that the ship didn't get one last cool moment.
Which ship?
The Fondor, Luthen's.
Oh.
Because it got to do so much cool stuff back in season 1, episode 11.
Mm-hmm.
You know there was more stuff in that ship.
What happened to it?
It was parked out behind their antiquity shop.
Oh, and then they were going through it
in
that scene. Okay.
Even if, like, I don't know, the floor is electrified or something, like some little trap.
I'm sure similar to that radio desk where he was pouring that stuff on there. I wonder if he had done something similar with the ship. Just like
maybe he did. Just
wiped all the drives or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever's
he probably
in
did.
Star Wars ships.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I'll read this one. Aaron Garner, I can't believe but her emails, Dedra. It was classified emails that brought her down. Yeah. But the emails.
Classic move, I guess. Dean says, are there any ideas as to what Luthen was involved in during episode 10's flashbacks? Without a BBY, I thought it might have been during the tail end of the Republic, but it's imp armor he's wearing. So I think the StarWars.com episode guide did confirm that it's supposed to be Mud Trooper armor. So I do think he is Imperial at that point.
Okay.
Do not know exactly what he was up to. I mean, well, if you listen to the subtitles, he's part of a massacre of some kind. Like they're just killing a bunch of people in a village.
Yeah.
Not sure where or exactly when, but I do think it must have been in the early Imperial days.
Yeah. And you know that part of his relationship this whole time with Clea is like him trying to make up for what he's done and atone for what him and all the other soldiers were doing on that planet against that little girl's family
and everyone else there. But yeah. Like that's something I didn't quite piece together myself until we watched the declassified video, which we talk about this on the podcast too, but so glad that they did that for Andor. They did those little, like, here's 10 minutes about the making of the episode and discussing scenes and characters and stuff. I was just like, those are so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Rainer Bless says, Mace referring to Les Mis Javert is spot on. Just like Dedra and Axis, Javert was obsessed with hunting Valjean and didn't care about the revolution. We've got a good friend who has talked about Javert a lot when it comes to Cyril.
I remember making an image for Instagram a long time ago, like about the similarities. But yeah, I've never seen Les Mis.
I've seen the musical. I've never read the book. I've not seen any of the movies, but I do know it's been a long time since I've seen it, but
Yeah.
I know who Javert is.
I know just because I had to research it a little bit, but yeah, I need to watch it.
Trippy Dippy, great name, says, no question, just wanted to say that Jebel is the worst. That delivery of, oh, please, from the actor made me want to scream.
Yeah.
That dude, I mean, he plays an asshole kind of great.
And like even Mon Mothma gave him a look of being like, come on, man, you're just making this harder.
Like when he popped up in Andor, I went, oh, this guy. And then when we rewatched Rogue One, I had even forgotten just how he's like, this rebellion is finished.
Yeah.
I was like, shut up, dude. Why are you here?
He just got here like yesterday, and he's kind of like, what have I done? I miss my home back on course, my fancy rich lifestyle. He's basically parent for someone else, and he's kind of like, oh no.
He's someone's parent.
He's
That's
someone's
such a good
parent.
insult.
You just know.
Take Colma ass character. See, I actually really like watching Tay. I mean, I was so mad and disappointed at him in Arc 1, but he had some redeeming qualities.
It was a perfect pivot for that character.
Jabelland is also good.
Right?
Yeah.
Like to have her childhood friend, the person that she confides in the first season, then be the same person to turn on her when he's become inconvenienced and his life is getting harder. Then he's gonna be like, well, this isn't helping me anymore, and like I am gonna pitch a fit and blackmail you if you don't fix it for me specifically. And she's like, the men in this town.
Yeah. Chandrillan men are garbage. Honestly, the name, Erskine. I was going to say, name one good Chandrillan man, but Erskine is...
He's half Chandrillan,
yeah.
or he grew up there or something.
Nerd Boy says, Luthen and Lonnie relationship mirrors Cassian and Tivik. Yeah, we kind of touched on that, but Nerd Boy also said, what was Leia doing during the events of Andor? Does she know Cassian?
So she would have been around 16, so she would have been probably in the young senator program. So
let's work backwards. She would have been
or maybe
14 during season 1, 15 during arc 1 of season 2, 16 during arc 2. So when Bale shows up at like Davos Golden's thing, she would have just joined the junior Imperial legislation program. And she doesn't find out that her parents are in the rebellion until that time.
Mm-hmm.
So she would not have known Andor before then. I really doubt she knew him after that, but she is in an episode of Star Wars Rebels. So she was involved. She was going around and doing things, but
she knew Mon, at least.
Yeah.
It would have been great to see them interact, but like Tony Gilroy spoke in an interview that they had talked about bringing Leia into the show at some point because of Bale, because of Mon being in it so much, but then ultimately decided that it would be too distracting. They needed to spend that time finishing out all these other character arcs. So I'm kind of glad they didn't. I think that would have definitely been distracting.
I agree. But I think she was mostly in the Senate at that point. She was kind of trying to work inside.
Yeah.
Dean says, for what it's worth, Cassian can be indigen and Bix. It is canon that Cassian's a hoe.
Well, if he's anything like Willman is true.
Yeah. Well, I think Willman is a one person at a time kind of guy. But
when I say hoe, I mean it respectfully, always.
Every planet he goes to, he's like, I gotta find a lady friend.
Yeah. I mean, in the rebellion, like the rebellion is built on hoes. I was not going to say that, but then I said the rebellion, and it made me think of the rebellion is built on Hopeline, and then I was just like, I'm going to say it.
Nope. I mean, you got Han Solo, you got Cassian, you got Willman.
Ho for show.
That was too good to not say.
We thank them for their service.
Dean also says, no, I just thought of Obi-Wan Kenobi and had to throw that out there. Gilroy should come back for an all-Muppet movie to show how the Bothans got the second Death Star plans. Mon Mothma as the only non-Muppet character.
Amazing.
You know, I did not point out.
Please bring the Muppets back.
Season 1 especially really shied away from the pulp of Star Dameron. I mean, yeah, for sure.
For sure.
They kind of shied away from the pulp in season 1. Season 2 had a lot more just random aliens walking around, a lot of extra puppets. I thought that they proved that it can be done when in episode 10 there was that execution in the village and it cuts to Clea and a puppet looking sad about it. And I was like, yes, like you can include weirdo aliens in very serious scenes and it still works.
Granny, hilarious.
Yeah, love Granny.
And adorable. Scotty Heron, real quick, just said those Ferrix boys got that dog in them. Indeed.
Calm Like a Bomb says Rogue One hit so much harder after finishing Andor. His speech,
that's what the was.
What?
Earlier when we got that super chat, someone else put
Granny.
it in the chat, and now I get it.
Okay, I did love Granny.
Her scatting,
that episode needed, a little bit of levity because it was very heavy.
I was worried about her though.
I was too, but she's fine.
She's fine.
She's having a great time.
Yeah.
Rogue One hit so much harder after finishing Andor. His speech, seeing what he wasn't proud of and what he wanted to forget. Agree.
Yeah.
I think, tomorrow's video is my take on how Rogue One hits different little things that we noticed while watching it. And we recorded our watch along and we put it out on our Patreon, but we put it out as a public free post. So if anyone wants to watch the movie with us and hear our in real time reactions and conversations about how that went after watching Andor, you can. It's free.
That was really fun. So you just have to go to our Patreon website, and you don't have to. Do you have to sign up for an account if it's just free on there?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's not going to charge you to watch the Rogue One watch along.
Yeah, which that's I don't want that kind of stuff, or nothing against reaction channels or anything, but I don't want that on our channel. So that's. Anytime we can do something like that, even if it's a free post, it will live on the Patreon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dave McHugh has the next one. Headcanon, not optimistic about his chances. K2SO puts a copy of his brain into the KX droid when he stole the map on Scarif. That droid got off the planet with K2's brain. If Tag survived the Death Star, K2 can survive Scarif. I like that headcanon. Because you're right. Tag, really? Did we need Tag to survive?
General Tag with that haircut?
Awful haircut. He's got the same barber they got on Yavin. Giving Mon that hair. The nerve.
After all her looks throughout Andor, they're like, well, we got to put you in the short hair now.
I've seen a lot of people joking about Mon's hair, but part of me is also kind of like, maybe she cut it herself and she's just living her moo I'm going to cut my own hair kind of life now. She's trying new things.
I do like the idea of K2 attempting to just copy himself. And then there's just an army of K2s running around being sassy to everyone.
Yeah.
The Real Doomslayer, what's up? Says, just saying hi. Thanks for the great coverage. Thanks, Doomslayer.
Hi, Doomslayer.
Also,
Welcome back.
It's good to have you back. A while ago, someone was using Doomslayer's name to spam the chat, and I accidentally banned the real Doomslayer.
Because they were using that one too.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Tin Man says local theaters screening Andor episode 12 and Rogue One tomorrow. Going to drive home crying over Cass never seeing his son rise in a free galaxy or daughter. Oh, I'm going for the pun. Got it.
Wait. So
this show.
Are theaters doing that? Around?
I didn't see one around here doing it.
I didn't either, but that's awesome. I was hoping that like that would be a widespread thing.
There were like rumors that it was going to happen, and I guess it is, but yeah, I didn't see any in the Atlanta area.
Elo Asti, thank you for the next one. Would Molly cast Genevieve O'Reilly or Katie Sackhoff as her mom in a Star Wars Explained biopic? If you knew my actual mom, I would say neither. But if I had to choose one, I would go Genevieve.
Who would you cast?
I don't know. I'm terrible at those kinds of questions, but like,
I thought you had a name pop into your head.
No. Maybe who plays Calamity Jane in that?
Oh yeah.
show? Who's that?
I don't know, but in Deadwood,
Yeah.
that actually would be a lot of fun.
My mom's kind of wild. She's got some opinions. She likes to shoot guns. She's not quite Ron's mom from Parks and Rec, but not far from it.
She's on her way. Draco Eris says, "Hey Molly, Alex, and Mace. Glad I caught the stream live. Been playing the new Outlaws DLC this evening. No spoilers. It's fun. That's great. I thought I would have time to start it today, and I didn't. But I'll try to play it this weekend."
Yeah, I'm excited to get into that. Now that we're almost finished with our Andor coverage, I'm excited to get into the Indiana Jones video game that we keep talking about.
That was going to be, my reward for surviving Andor is playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. But then, I just got Trials of the Jedi the other day to read, and I started that, and there's still things to catch up on.
That's true. I am determined to read Mask of Fear, even if it takes me from now until whenever the next one comes out. I will read it.
You got like 7 months, I think.
Yeah,
maybe more.
I mean, we'll be on a plane at some point, I'm sure, between now and then, and that's a good excuse for me to blow through the audiobook.
Haja says, K2 human shield moment. Ouch, that's gotta hear. Good pun.
Aw.
This is a question for you, I think, Molly. Elo Asti asks, who goes harder, Mon Mothma at the dance party or Alex at Mos Eisley?
Well, it depends on how much Alex has had to drink.
If I did, what you do, 4 shots? If I did 4 shots in sequence like she did.
I think Alex might go a little bit harder.
Really? I thought you were going to say Mothma.
I mean, she has that she has that moment where she's dancing like pretty hard, but that I feel like that was kind of quick. I don't know.
She's also dancing out a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
She probably could have used some Mos Eisley, a little bit of emo music.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put Welcome to the Black Parade over instead of Niamos and see how that scene works.
See, that's why I want to know more about Mon after all this. Like, I just want to know how she's doing. She's basically like starting her life over completely. I have a lot of Mon questions still. Zeralins, thank you for being a member of the 603rd. Which Andor character would you like more stories for, Mon?
Mm-hmm.
And in what medium? Great coverage as always for this awesome show. May the Force be with you. Yeah, Mon in literally any medium. But aside from that, maybe Clea in a comic, or like literally anyone on Yavin, because we talked about this. We both really wanted to see more about the creation and the buildup of the Yavin base. So a comic or novel about that and everyone kind of getting there would be awesome.
My hope is that the next 2 Reign of Fear books will cover some of that stuff. Give us more Luthen, more Clea, more Mothma, and yeah, fill in some of those gaps, especially like the development of the Yavin base between arcs 2 and 3, or 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Tin Man says, could introducing someone to Star Wars with Andor plus Rogue One be a good idea? They might learn of the Force with the healer scene and won't know who Vader is until he chokes Krennic and kills rebels with a glow stick. I think that would be a fine way. Like if someone has been like, I don't know if I'd be into Star Wars, like, yeah, show them Andor and then be like, and there's a movie that finishes Cassian's story. And then they'd be like, well, who's the scary man at the end? And be like, oh, well, just wait. There's 6 movies about that.
It would be, I feel like it would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to find someone who didn't at least know a little bit about Star Wars and how there are lightsabers and all that. But if you have someone that's really into these like dark, gritty prestige television shows who maybe haven't gotten into any like sci-fi or fantasy type stuff, yeah, I'd say definitely show them Andor and say watch Rogue One right after that and just see what they think. But hopefully that doesn't set them up for disappointment when like nothing else in Star Wars is anything like that.
It's true.
That I would be afraid of that, but I would be able to preface
but that could ease them in to the point where they're like, well, now I'm interested in this Vader character.
Right. Oh yeah, if you like Vader, there's tons of great Vader stuff out there.
Ihaja says, Rogue Mom, an Edie Star Wars story. I think it's funny that none of us said we want more Edie stories.
Yeah.
I've seen her enough.
Yeah. I was sad in that scene just because I get sad when I see characters crying. And like it was still like close to Mother's Day, so I was like thinking about that, doing my Mother's Day post, but like she still was a pretty terrible mom.
Real piece of work.
Yeah. She, just like Dedra, she had a lot of chances to do the right thing with Cyril, and she did not.
Lightspeed Bear says, the final arc seemed to vindicate Luthen somewhat and emphasize his importance to the rebellion. My Rebel Mount Rushmore, Luthen, Mon, Cassian, Leia.
Yeah. I was listening to Triad of the Force today, and they just came out with an episode with Ellie, who is, she runs Daughters of Ferrix. And she brought up a great point about how she wished there was more story to tell about Luthen's involvement with the rebellion and the base on Yavin, because we went from like no one really knowing about him to everyone knowing about him and kind of scoffing at his name really quickly.
Yeah. I want to know how Bale got roped into Luthen's circle, why he dislikes Luthen. Like, well, I know why, but I want to see some of their interactions.
Yeah. That would have really benefited, I think, just again, going back to the rebel leaders on Yavin and why they are the way that they are in those scenes.
Agreed.
Dean says, Dedra is going to be the best floor manager. She's definitely regularly getting flavor in her prison slurm. Oh yeah, those little like it's like the bean paste hose at Taco Bell.
How dare you?
What?
That's you're insulting the bean paste hose. I'm sure that tastes better than whatever they're getting.
I don't think it does. I mean, I guess if you're getting Taco Bell bean paste through that little hose, then I guess, yeah, for prison food, that's worth celebrating. But you got to have everything else in a Taco Bell item to make the bean paste work. Just like the rebellion, you need your Luthans, you need your Cassians,
you need your beans, you need your lettuce, you need your
Clayas.
cheese, and you need your ground beef.
It takes a village to put together any item on the Taco Bell menu.
Chris Moore says Dedra Meero can still come back as a villain in the Imperial Remnants if Lucasfilm wants to move it forward. Then Andor is her villain origin story. I don't think she's getting out of that prison. I don't think the Empire's letting her out even to be a part of the Imperial Remnant.
I would be really shocked if they brought her back. But if they did, they'd have to start it out with like, guess who can swim?
It's true. She may have never learned to swim in the Kinderblock.
For those of you wondering what the Taco Bell bean paste hose is, I don't know if they still use it, but apparently
I thought it was pretty self-explanatory.
In the Taco Bell, inside Taco Bell, when they're making like all the stuff, anything that has refried beans in it, it's just like coming out of a hose that they just like squirt it onto stuff.
I think that's true for beans and ground beef and probably cheese. I think they got a lot of hoses back there. Taco Bells are built on hose.
Indeed. A lot of hose talk tonight. It's true.
Robbie OB says, thank you for all your work. It's been great to share this art with others who love it. Tales of the Rebellion next, please, showing us how Mon adjusted from her life of privilege and how they all merged together on Yavin. Yeah, that could work.
That's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
You hit it right on the head. That's what I've been saying. I want to see more of Yavin. I want to see more of Mon.
Let's get Stellan Skarsgård back to voice the cartoon version of himself.
I'm sure he would love to do that.
I know he would. I feel like he would be just like Forrest Whitaker in the sense that he's like, oh yeah, anytime you need Saw for something, I'll be there.
Yeah. Malcolm Davis. I don't know if anyone said this, but I haven't seen this anywhere. Luthen was smiling when he died. I'm going to watch the VOD later. Love you guys. Take care. I think he was definitely happy with the idea of not giving Dedra the satisfaction. And he was probably really pleased with how that whole thing played out because he did his whole bit with the knife and he let her do her little bit about the Star Path unit. The whole time, like, it gets me every time. Like, he gave her the knife, like, put it in her hands, and then she handed it back to him. And he was, after that, he was probably like, you silly girl.
You dum-dum.
You dum-dum. Yeah.
Corey M says, R.I.P. Lonnie, forgotten hero of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Agreed. Super bummed about Lonnie.
He is like a serious MVP.
Love Lonnie. Dean, thanks for another one, says, it doesn't have to be Cassian Jr. It could be Baby Marva or B2 Jr.
B2 Jr. Aw.
We
didn't really talk about Marva a lot, but I mean, she wasn't in any of this, but there was a moment where we were talking about Cassian's dream about his sister.
Uh-huh.
And that made me want to bring up him watering the plants.
Yeah.
And like how him watering the plants like meant so many different things. It meant one of the last times we see Marva is her watering the plants. So it meant Cassian learned that from her and that he's continuing on that good habit. But it also meant like he has hope that he can come back to these plants and continue to water them. It's like, it's tragic and it's hopeful at the same time. Yeah,
that's someone watering plants is like, I want these to be here and be alive when I get back. He's not going and he's not gearing up thinking, well, I'll be dead in a day.
Yeah, he's not thinking none of this matters anymore. Like, I'm going to continue to water my plants because I have every intention of coming back here.
Mhm.
But it's also just like representative of him being a part of how all of this works. He is playing a part in watering the roots of the rebellion of the future or something like that.
Yeah. Chris Moore says, still want a short show that explores Chirrut, Imwe, and Bay's origin story. There is a
Did they
book.
get a book?
Yeah, it's called Guardians of the Wills. I think they adapted it into a manga or a comic as well. It's not that long. It's not a full origin story, but it's something if you're on the hunt. Also,
Yeah.
Chirrut popped up in the Galaxy's Edge comic in one issue as a flashback.
We talk a lot about that in like our Rogue One watch along, and I'm sure you talk about it in the video, just like how this changed your perspective on Chirrut, especially.
Yeah. I'm gonna run take a bathroom break.
Okay. Scotty Heron, thank you for being a member of the 603rd. Since the first arc, I've been fascinated by Leia being 1 year younger. Leda being 1 year younger than Leia and so different. What do you think an interaction between them would look like? It would probably be really similar to young Leia's interaction with that little boy in Obi-Wan. I forget his name, but she's just kind of like messing with him. And so I think because Leda is just so she's reverted to these like older traditional ways of living and thinking that I think Leia would kind of be like, what? Why? Maybe she would try to convince her otherwise. Maybe she would just be like, yeah, you sound like a lost cause. But I don't think they would necessarily get along. Let's see. Another one from Brian Kimmett. Only thing I didn't get from the finale was what Leda was doing and how Mon's speech impacted her life. Maybe in a future book, I hope. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, just not being able to really see the reaction from Leda and Perrin to everything that went down with Mon leaving the Senate. That would have been really interesting to see. And like what their reaction was, what the reaction of everyone in their social circles would have been. Like, would the other people around them think less of them after what they saw Mon do?
Catching up on the question.
Just more about like wanting to see Leda and Perrin's reaction. And I was like, I wonder if the people in their social circles would have thought differently of them after seeing what Mon did.
Yeah.
Or if they would have commended them by being like, it's hard to say because we didn't see their reactions, right?
I feel like they wouldn't have been like shunned, but I do think they probably would have taken a social circle hit.
Yeah. It depends on how they reacted, because they could have been like, oh, woe is me. She made our lives harder because she was always trying to be different. And I don't know. There's a lot of story to tell there that could have been fun.
Scotty Heron asks, looking back at the season and series, what are the top 3 lines from season 2 and top 5 from the whole series?
Calibrate your enthusiasm.
And the other one that popped into my head was, you seem animated. It's
They're all from Partagaz.
Partagaz just really delivers bangers.
There's a whole
galaxy waiting to disappoint you.
Disgust you,
yeah.
There's a whole galaxy out there waiting to disgust you. Yeah. And like, she'll never see that because she's in Narkina. But she'll know it. Who are you is a good one.
Yeah.
I Have Friends Everywhere.
I Have Friends Everywhere is one that popped into my head because that feels like a good "this is the way" or "I have spoken," just something you can say to a Star Wars fan. That I was going to go with "Who Are You?" Calibrate your enthusiasm, but I like the galaxy waiting to discuss you. To throw in two more, I'll go with I Can't Swim or One Way Out. They're kind of, they go hand in hand, but I mean, top has to be "Fuck the Empire," I think.
Well, that wasn't like an official line.
Well, in my heart, fight the Empire.
Yeah. Top 5 of the whole series between season 1 and 2. One Way Out, definitely. Yeah,
I do think though, like, "Can't Swim" is just the line that I remember in season 1 where I like, I just got punched in the chest emotionally. I'll bring up the "Axe forgets, but the tree remembers" because that just was very relevant in season 2.
Right. Oh, I'm just reading chat now. She was a miracle. All the stuff Vel said about Cinta.
Great.
God, that was so.
This is on you like skin. Pick any of the monologues. The distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. Love that. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil. Love that.
I can't even talk about the Vel and Cinta stuff and her death. It makes me cry. It's too sad.
It would be tough to actually narrow down these lines because now the more I think, the more I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what my favorite lines are. Too many good ones.
Isaac Smith says, been a huge fan since the Minute days, and Mace is goated. What a guest. We'll let him know. Thanks for all the positivity and inspiration. Truly makes every day a bit easier. Love from the UK. Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah. There's, I don't think I have it pulled up readily, but there was a line in A Valiant Vow, which I finished reading this week, that I really liked. It said, "It's a Jedi's role to foster light within the galaxy." And I don't know, that just like made me feel warm and fuzzy inside, that like we try to make this channel as light side as we can. we want to foster a group, a community that likes Star Wars, and more than that, is able to talk to each other without killing each other in the comments when they disagree.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've done a decent job, and that's also like up to everyone watching and being nice. So thank you.
Yeah. And this, I've been thinking about this a lot too. Even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. Sometimes I feel really silly talking with my reg friends who like have normal office jobs, and I tell them what's going on in our lives, and like, but I'm like, what we do is important, especially when we get to talk about shows like Andor and connect it so easily with what's happening in the real world, and take the lessons that Star Wars is trying to teach us and be able to spell it out so openly like that. I think that's important. So like, yeah, I hope we're helping in some small way. I think we are.
Well, that's the even the smallest act pushes the line forward. And just reading Into the Light, reading A Valiant Vow, and it's just very much like, hey, little things matter too. It's not all about blowing up the Death Star.
Yeah.
It's about the little things that get us there.
It's so easy to feel so like overwhelmed and feel like nothing you do matters when you see just like awful headlines every single day. But watching watching Andor should show you they matter. Every little thing matters.
Haja, thanks for another one, says Imperial Command, there's always a bigger fish. Oh, a bigger fash.
A bigger fascist. That's true.
Nerd Boy says, what do you think the old lady Clea was pushing in the hospital was thinking the whole time?
She was probably like, go faster, lady.
She seemed to be into it. She did not seem bothered at all.
She was just excited to maybe get some new scenery. Maybe she had never been to a different floor.
She seemed excited. She was just sitting, scatting, having a good old time. Scotty says, if we get a novel about any Andor cast that survived, who would you want it to focus on? What story, setting, and by which author? I mean, after Mask of Fear, I'd be happy with Alexander Freed writing any of them. Oh, and
Delilah Dawson writing Clea's story, period.
Scotty votes Clea or Vel, Galactic Civil War, written by Delilah Dawson. I was going to say Delilah would do a fantastic job with any of them, but I think Clea specifically, Delilah would like fall over herself to write that story.
Or Mon, honestly, everything she's been through, I think reading, I mean, I would kill for a book about Mon Mothma written by Delilah Dawson. But
I mean, if Clea and Vel become an item and Vel is Mon Mothma's cousin, then there's all three of them.
Yeah.
Send all three of them on some sort of crazy adventure. Have Delilah Dawson write that.
To get to see all of their points of view from like the Yavin base and like during the medal ceremony and all that kind of stuff. Are they just kind of like all sitting back like, yeah, sure, give them in their medals. They did great. Love that for them. That'd be awesome. Diego, thank you for the super chat. Last May the 4th, my 15-year-old cat, Chia, became one with the Force. Thank you for your videos and community, which sparked joy on these days. Oh, thank you.
Chia is a wonderful name.
Yeah. 15 years, though. That's a long time.
Ash DZ says, thank you for the best coverage of Andor Season 2. You guys enhanced my friends and I's experience so much. I teared up at the end of episode 12. I had to watch Rogue One right after, up until 2 a.m. on a work day. It is a school night, Ash.
I had a friend text me, and she was like, am I about to watch Rogue One at 1 a.m. after she finished the episodes? And I was like, I'm typically a bad influence when it comes to this stuff because I'm always going to say, yes, you should do that.
She is also in. So Tuesday is the day I play Dungeons and Dragons, and that same person is in my D&D group. And fortunately, we got the screeners, so I didn't have to worry about it being very specific on a Tuesday night. And we played until like 10:30, and I could see her over there just like, we got to wrap this up. I gotta go.
Watching her watch, like, come on.
Ash also says, I noticed the Palmo Armory bears a striking resemblance to the large structure at Jedha City in Rogue One. Are they the same building? So no, but I had the same thought when it opened on that shot of Gorman in that episode. For a second, I thought it was Jedha. So I think the armory is meant to invoke on Jedha. That's the Temple of the Kyber, but I do think they were trying to kind of invoke Jedha in a way.
Where's the Palmo Armory?
It's on Gorman. That was the building the Empire was constructing, and the Gorman people were mad that like its shadow was going to cast on the memorial.
Right.
So it's just a really tall structure.
Oh, okay.
Kind of triangular. It very much did look like the Temple of the Kyber, at least in design.
I didn't notice that.
And Ash says, why are the events in Arc 3 1 BBY? Shouldn't it be 0 BBY? Was there a New Year's celebration in between Scarif and Tatooine? So there isn't really a 0 BBY. Like, that is the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, that's
So-
like as soon as it happens, it starts from there.
Yeah. So the second the Battle of Yavin happens, everything after that is in the year 1 BBY.
Hmm.
And everything right before the Battle of Yavin is in the year, or wait, 1 ABY, and everything before is 1 BBY.
Yeah.
But 0 BBY is not a literal date unless you're watching the Death Star explode.
Yeah. Skywalker stories. I heard you both mention Scum and Villainy bar a bunch. I visit California a bunch and haven't been. Is it more like an adult bar, just like Mos Eisley themed, or more family friendly like Galaxy's Edge? Looks really cool. It's like a bar,
Mm-hmm.
but they have food, and it is overall, I think, family friendly unless they're doing like a special event. But it's not very big. It's probably got like 6 or 7 booths, and then like a bunch of tables, and then there's bar seating. But like, I would say it's both. It's adult friendly, family friendly. Depends on what's going on there.
I feel like we usually wind up there kind of late, so
They are open very late.
I don't recall seeing a bunch of kids there, but I double check on their website. I think they're family friendly. I know that they've talked about turning down like Star Wars burlesque shows and stuff along those lines because they want to keep it, you know, like family friendly. So
they don't even have, I mean, they don't really have enough room in there for a burlesque show anyways.
But I'm trying to, I don't want to speak specifically for them.
Sure.
Check their website. I'm sure it says like all ages welcome or something.
But it's a great place. Oh yeah, and then they've got that whole front area too. So like there's a lot more seating there than the first couple of times we went. The food is great. The drinks are great. They have a lot of fun themed drinks. You can also answer trivia questions.
Yeah, that's true.
At the bar, and like I think you roll a chance cube, and then you get to like whatever color you get. It's either a trivia question or something about the chance cube. I can't remember.
They have fun, specials that are you can do trivia and stuff.
Yeah, it's fun,
which we love. Dean, thank you for another very generous super chat. One thing that Andor brought that I hope is done in more Star Wars is showing the mundane lives of bad and good guys. It more often feels like characters just have adventure or villainy as the entirety of their existence. It is like, and I feel like we got this in season 1 more because we were able to just stretch out 12 episodes over a year. We still got it in season 2, but it was like, these are the most exciting days of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the movies are very much like, this is the most exciting time of an era.
Yeah.
or a year.
Getting to see Cassian in his Niamos era, where like he's just with some girl asking about Pizzos, like that's kind of like an important part of his story. But it felt mundane, but it was like worth telling.
Well, like the very first arc of the series, getting to just see the lives of the people of Ferrix, or in this season we got Dedra and Edie and Cyril at their dinner party. Like we did get a lot of that. Or like, what does a wedding look like on Chandrilla? So they did a good job of working in quote unquote mundane things into the adventure.
Yeah.
Lightspeed Bear says, I assume Luthen was referring to Clea when he said, I think we used up all the perfect. Her smile and the reaction was so nice. Loved their relationship.
I did wonder about that moment because she had a nice long pause and then she smiled.
I didn't get the sense he was referring to Clea. I think he was just saying, like, all our luck has run out. This is it.
Yeah.
Like, there are no more perfect jobs. We're just going to do our best.
I think it was, the fact that he was maybe making a reference to their entire lives together, or her entire life being with him. maybe he just doesn't talk about that very often. So she was feeling nostalgic. David K says, so the Empire fell because someone hit reply all. Whoops. Maybe.
Read the next one. I'm looking to see. I saw the Amish toaster sent in a super chat, and I don't see a message with it, so I was trying to find that.
John the Bomb, what do you think happened to Mon's daughter? I think she's in a terrible marriage, and hopefully she's happy there. Who knows what she's feeling? It seems like that's what she wanted, but only time will tell if she decides otherwise. But yeah, she's happily married to Skulden's son.
Happily, maybe not, but I think she's probably fine. I think she's off. Maybe, well, it's been several years. The honeymoon period may have worn off for her. She might be regretting her decision by now, but yeah, I think she's fine. Like, I don't think the Empire's after her. They're probably listening to her, but I think that's about it. The Amish toaster, thank you for, I'm sorry you sent in 2, but I found your message. Do you have any dream directors for a Star Wars project now that Gilroy elevated the series? Like Chris Nolan making an abstract, Force-centric film, Ryan Coogler making a Resistance-era film, etc.
I mean, Ryan Coogler did Sinners.
Yeah, I mean, just saying Ryan Coogler right now, like, I already liked Black Panther and Creed, great movies, but yeah, Sinners was incredible. So I'd love to have Coogler.
Sinners is like the best movie I've seen in several years, I think. It just like blew my mind. So good. So yeah, I'm going to say that.
And like,
I can't think of any other directors.
Coogler also is happy, or at least knows how to work in the franchise space. And like Black Panther felt so fresh and different from the MCU. So that's what I want. I want people who are going to come in and make something that feels really new and exciting for Star Wars.
Yeah. Agreed.
So yeah, I'll go with Coogler. D. Torrey and Dan Ritter both have the same idea. Rebellions are built on hose needs to be a shirt. Dan Ritter says rebellions are built on hose, then list out all the slutty men of the rebellion.
Those slutty men played their part.
And it's a picture of Pedro Pascal and
showing
the
his
boots
knees.
and the shorts, showing his slutty little knees.
His slutty little knees. Oh my God. I don't know if we could sell that kind of merch to a huge audience, but I feel like there's enough of an audience.
The people that were here for this stream might want it, and that's it.
Yeah. Alex the Hiker says, if Andor and Jin manage to survive the shockwave, I don't see them getting off world in time to affect the events of episode 4, but how do you see episodes 5 and 6 changing? So assuming they some Jedi was standing right off shore and they made some kind of force field, because I don't think they're surviving that. But
no, I mean,
we're saying if they did. I don't think
things would have changed all that much.
No, I don't think 5 and 6 would change at all, because if they survive something like that, they would probably be like, I'm done.
I'm going to go find Bix right now.
I'm done. I retire.
Did you blow up that Death Star? Good. I did
enough.
I'm done for real now.
That's the moment when they're like, well, we just cheated death. Time to retire.
Like, maybe they, with Cassian being part of Rebel Intelligence, maybe they would have found out about the second Death Star a little sooner, but I don't really think that changes a whole lot.
Yeah. Oh my God. Imagining the world between worlds. MC Lego Boy said World Between Worlds opened up right beneath him before the blast hit. Tony Gilroy would never allow it.
He'd be like, World Between what? Jacob Gould says, my headcanon is that Dedra is under Kino and he's making her life absolute hell.
Oh yeah, is he still there?
I think so. I mean, I
don't know.
I mean, he didn't jump.
Yeah, but like, my headcanon is still just like that. Basically, that whole building was fucked after that. Like, I don't think. I guess they could have had people come in from the other buildings to help with backup to keep the prisoners in order.
I don't know. I don't want to think about what happened to Kino Loy, like, because I don't think it's anything good. And honestly, like, I was kind of wondering if maybe they would revisit that this season. I'm glad they didn't, even though it makes me sad. But
I'm gonna think that he survived somehow, but I don't care to ponder the rest of his story after that.
Yeah, so heartbreaking, but in a beautiful, sad way. Scotty Heron, thanks for 2 more super chats. I rewatched Rebels Season 4, Episode 1 recently. It seems Zeb, Hera, and Kanan have been on Yavin for a while, maybe since Season 3. Yeah, I think they went there straight from Adelon when they retreated, because they were with Dodonna and stuff. Seems Cassian spent 2 to 1 BBY there too. I doubt that they crossed paths, because Cass seems to stick to the forest hut, but if they did, what do you think all 3 interactions would have been like? I think he would have gotten along with all of them great. Zeb probably reminded him of Brasso.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they could have been in it if they maybe had like a bigger budget for main alien characters.
I'm kind of glad they weren't. I wouldn't have minded seeing the ghost. Honestly, that would have been a fun conversation. Like, I would love to see this in a comic or something, of just Cassian talking to Zeb about, like, I got Mon Mothma off Coruscant. It's like, oh, really? We picked her up over here and took her to Dantooine. Like, oh, no way. Like, I think that would be fun.
I think I'm more interested in K2's interactions with Zeb or
with Chopper.
or with Chopper, yeah. Just because K2 is offering up some comforting humor, and like Chopper is like a wild card kind of, so I would love to see what their conversations would be like.
Yeah, but I think they would have all had good chats.
I'm glad I started this. Iha just says episode 4, a new hoe.
It was a good joke. It was a really good joke. Eric Cook says, give me a show set during the Civil War following Clea and Vel fomenting rebellion plus Mon building the alliance, set it between A New Hope and Empire.
I would, yeah. Going back to Mon Mothma again, seeing anything with her in between Andor Season 2 and Return of the Jedi would be great. Let's throw Crix Medine in there too.
I'm really interested to see where we go after Ahsoka Season 2, because that is the only Star Wars live action streaming we have left that we know about. I'm sure projects are floating around in development, stuff like that, but I don't know. Like, it seems like we're heading back into movie time, and weirdly Star Wars doesn't seem like it can do live action shows and movies at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Also something that we are going to talk about on Saturday.
Yep. But we have been going for almost exactly 3 hours. I think that's a good time to wrap it up. Go eat some dinner.
We did it.
Watch some King of the Hill.
Yeah, everyone treat themselves on something that isn't Star Wars tonight. Or maybe watch Rogue One if you haven't done that yet, because that is definitely worth a rewatch after finishing Andor.
Yeah, but treat yourself to something lighter. Andor was very, very heavy. And
yes. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Phil. Right as we're wrapping up, it was great to see you too. Hey, that's perfect timing. Everyone keep an eye out for The Art of Andor by Phil Shostak. It's on the way. Can't wait to read it, Phil.
The Art of books are like chef's kiss. They're so good. That was one of the first, like, we really dug into the visual dictionaries, but I remember really digging into the art of the Force Awakens book and just being like fascinated with everything. And the art of the Rogue One book was why I got so obsessed with Bor Gullet.
Yeah, you did.
Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Okay, it doesn't come out until March 2026, but you're very welcome for the shameless plug. It's not shameless on my part. I'm excited for the book.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it.
Also, thank the makers here.
Right as we're ending, people popping in.
Maybe they've been here the whole time. They've just been lurking.
Been
well, we appreciate you guys saying hi. We're getting to the point of delusional, so we're gonna go eat dinner.
But thank you, everyone in the chat. Thanks for hanging out, sending in your channel support and super chats. Thank you to Maggie Lovett last week and MaceAhWindu tonight. It's been a fun 4 weeks, fun and heavy. And we still got some more Andor coverage. There's a video tomorrow. There's a video Sunday. I've got more planned. So we're not done with Andor all the way, but we can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. We made it through.
Yeah. We'll find plenty of ways to connect everything back to Andor.
Well, thank you all for hanging out and watching, and may the Force be with y'all.